as we say hello and welcome to arguably, you know, one of our most famous track here on the AWC schedule here in Speedway, Indiana. We welcome you to the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway here for the AWC Pro Series. We kick off our chase here for season 20. Hello, my name is Christian Elgato, once again alongside Matthew Prochatsky and Diego Acuna. And Matthew, coming into, like I said, here in this pre-race, probably arguably the most famous racetrack here in the season 20 schedule here in Indianapolis.
Yeah, to be here in the month of May in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the iRacing Simulator, obviously a lot to look forward to in the AWC Pro Series. And just, like you mentioned, Christian, just one of those prestigious and very well-known tracks all around the world. So glad to be a part of this broadcast today. But yeah, speaking of the Speedway and whatnot, someone who's driven on this track before in the simulator, Diego, any fast thoughts right now before we get into this practice session?
Pretty much, it's a very big racetrack. Of course, it's going to be four almost 90-degree turns that are going to be separated by two long straightaways. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of drafting help that you need to pass other people. That's going to be people going into the bottom lane. They're going to get tight, very, very close quarter racing. Even though it's a big track, there's not gonna be so much of spaces that you're gonna have. There's gonna be almost none possibility that you're gonna be going 3 wide unless you're Jimmy Johnson blowing up an engine. So yeah, it's gonna be a great racetrack. Of course, with the these O'Reilly machines, there's gonna be some air moving. Some good racing as well, and of course it's a great racetrack to kick off the chase that pretty much left after Talladega.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Talladega, chaotic race. We saw Bryson Byrd take the win there to end the regular season in a pretty good way to, a fitting way to end it, right? Bryson dominated the regular season. He sweeps the regular season, winning at Talladega. But I think it's time now. We were asked to interview some of our chase drivers who would like to be interviewed up here in the HVTV booth to share their thoughts on how this chase is going to go for them. So let's go ahead and start getting these guys into there. We'll probably go by who's in here, and we'll probably go from, highest in the points things and further down as we go. So it looks like right now, I thought I saw Enrique in the VC. It looks like he is not in the VC, so we'll go ahead and drag the 24 of Joel Farlow in that Arctic Esports machine. See if we can ring up Joel here in the booth. Hey, Joel Farlow, it's Christian, Matthew, and Diego up here in the HVTV booth. You got a copy?
This is not Matthew. This is Joel.
Yeah. Did I say Matthew? Well, no. Yeah, I might have dragged you a little bit later. Well, yeah, it's Matthew, Diego, and Christian up in the booth. You got us, Joel?
Yep.
All right. Well, obviously, started the chase for you and that whole 24 team. Coming in here, P3 in points. Obviously, a 5-race stretch here to try to, crown a champion here in season 20. So, obviously, had some ups and downs in the regular season, but a clean slate here for this 24 team. What's the mindset, especially here heading into Indianapolis?
Well, I know in the regular season we had good pace. Had some bad luck. Just trying to shake that off into the offs. See if we can get some good momentum with that win at Bristol. Helps us getting up to P3 in the points. But this is a race I felt like I could have won last year. So it's a track I'm very comfortable with. It's just I feel like this year we can do a lot better because the guy in the field that wrecked me last year is not in it this year. So I feel pretty good about it. And we got some tracks coming up that are going to be very fun. Milwaukee is going to be very interesting. I think we can do pretty good at that one.
Now, so we look at the schedule: Indy, Milwaukee, Watkins Glen, Daytona, and Vegas. And one question I'm going to kind of ask everybody here as we cycle through everybody: is there one track you really have circled that might be a downer here in this little 5-race stretch?
Well, the only track I feel like I might struggle the most is Watkins Glen. But all I gotta do is just stay clean in that one. The track I'm most excited about is Indy, because it's the one I feel like I've got the best control. I've got the best probably long run speed, I feel like, out of all of them. Plus, I feel like it's a little bit easier to kind of control yourself. You don't have to race the competition as hard. You just race yourself, and you'll get them in the long run.
I definitely agree. Indy really rewards, saving your stuff with that long run pace. But I've got quite a few guys to get out of the way here. But we appreciate your time up here in the booth, and we wish you good luck here racing for your first championship here in the AWC Pro Series.
So yeah, thanks.
Will Farlow will come in here P3 in points as we'll talk to now the 42 of Wyatt Roberts. Actually P2 in practice here. We'll see if we can ring him up and maybe we can have a word with him. We'll see.
Go ahead and get him.
Yeah, we'll see if Diego, do you want to take Wyatt?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Wyatt Roberts, this is Diego Acuna, Matthew Bachesky, and Christian Delgado on the HBTV booth. You got us?
Yes, I do.
All right, so I started the chase. You were pretty much like P3 on the regular season. Of course, you have no win, so you got pretty much started from P4. What's your plan to go for these 5 races left?
Yeah, really, I just need some good, consistent finishes. But getting a first win on the season on the AWC career would also be absolutely awesome. But really, like, if I can get all these races in the top 5 or a couple top 3s in the top 5 or something, it's just really all about not making a mistake, a crucial mistake in the final 5 races here, and just finish the best it can, capitalize on fast race cars. Should be pretty fast today, so really just would love to get a top 5 every week.
Well, you are pretty much P2 on the study charts. Well, P3 right now with Fabiana White behind, and you're pretty much like getting the chase drivers on this practice. Will you go ahead like try to? Of course, you want to win, but I think also would you like to be the one leading the chase driver, right?
Yeah, of course it would be good to be leading the chase drivers and try and score as many points as we can today. I mean, I'll mainly just try and conserve my car. It's very easy to slide out and hit the wall here at Indy. It's these turns that come up on you quick and they close. But really just need to keep it out of the outside wall and save some tires. We're gonna have some long fuel runs today and just see what we have there at the end.
It's one question left before you get you to another driver. Any track that you are pretty much like looking like that is gonna be a little bit difficult for you?
I think it's pretty well balanced. I mean, I think the most random one, I guess you could say, is going to be Daytona. I mean, that's going to end a lot of people's seasons and need to make sure it is not going to end my season. But, I mean, I like the road courses. I think Watkins Glen will be fun. I haven't raced Milwaukee too much, but I've heard it's similar to New Hampshire, and that's one of the tracks that I'm actually really good at. So I might be looking forward to that one and see what we can do. And then Las Vegas is a typical 1.5, but usually I can run decent there. So yeah, so hopefully, we can just get a couple good races in when it's most important.
For sure it is. Thank you so much, and good luck on your race.
Thank you.
Wyatt Roberts comes in P4 here in the points, as and Jason talked about. Didn't win, so he'll come in, basically tied 4th on back with points. But Matthew, I think he's got Sam Boutwell here in the number 47 machine.
Hey, Sam Boutwell, number 47 car. It's me, Matthew, Diego, and Christian up in the booth. You got us?
We got you guys.
Well, obviously here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway today for the AWC Pro Series. Talk to us through your mindset going into this race here today.
Well, it's the opening race of our chase tonight. It's kind of the mindset for me is I know that this is a track I'm not personally very good at. And so it's just to make sure I minimize mistakes and hang around to the very end to capitalize on a few extra points that I might need to help carry me further along.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a good headspace to be in coming into this race to start off the chase like you mentioned. And speaking of the chase, any long-term goals that you have for you and your race team as we kind of go from a variety of different racetracks, right? We've got some road course coming up with Watkins Glen, and obviously another super speedway later on with Daytona. And so any particular tracks that you're looking forward to or not looking forward to so much for yourself?
I mean, other than this one, I think especially for both Gilberto and I on the team, we're both pretty excited for the rest of the schedule out here. We both think we have a very good chance to finish in top 5 in points and kind of have this battle back and forth between the two of us of who gets the best of who at the end of it. He had me most of the season, and then I clipped him in the regular season finale and got by him, and so it's been real fun for us to try to just use each other as our own rabbits to chase each other the whole rest of the way.
Yes, certainly, and obviously good to have a teammate to be able to lean on a little bit, and so it's good that you guys are both going to be able to help each other out here in the chase. And obviously, just one last thing before we get to another driver here for interviews. With this racetrack in particular, anything that you're looking forward to with either short run, long run speed, any personal talent that you're looking forward to exhibiting here at this super speedway?
Personally, I actually hope this goes green flag to the end. I am much better on the long run here than I am the short run. I hear most folks complaining about how tight the car is, and the way I drive the track is much more similar to how I drive the Pro 2000 here, which is in this car, it makes it to where I'm very, very loose early in the run, but once I got 5 laps on the tires or so, it's extremely neutral, and I can kind of just do what I want with it just by babying the throttle.
Well, you guys heard it here first. Sam Bowell, driver of the 47 car in the AWC Pro Series, ready to tackle Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We appreciate your time here up in the booth.
Thank you.
Sam Batwell comes in here looking for some energy, but time to continue to go through the word. We'll actually talk to his teammate, and Gilberto Gamera, and the number 23s. He's next in line here in this spreadsheet here, so let's go ahead and talk to the 23 Gamera. Gilberto, it's Christian, Matthew, and Diego up here in the booth. You got a copy?
I got you loud and clear.
Well, obviously, a brand new fresh wipe here for these top 12 drivers, including yourself there in that 23 car, coming in P6 into this chase standings, obviously tied with fourth on back here, coming into Indy. So, what's the mindset coming into these last final races? You try to drive your way up into potentially winning your first championship here in the Pro Series.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have that confidence to be able to go after that first championship, but I know Bryson and Wyatt, just a few guys up there, they have a completely different level from what I am. Main idea is just to kind of keep it clean, hopefully stay at least in the top 5 and maybe sneak away with like a shot at it. But right now the mindset is just to approach these races one at a time. India is not exactly my best track, but so far it's showing that I have some good pace, so I'm hoping to just get a good finish here, just keep myself in the hunt for the next few weeks.
And you talk about keeping yourself in the hunt, obviously a 5-race stretch. So what do you think is the importance of just, trying to keep the car clean on the track versus trying to go out and get a good finish for you and this whole 23 team?
So I would like to be able to do both, get a good finish and get a clean track and get a finish with a clean race car. I've been doing pretty well at that most season, apart from a few races where I felt like some circumstances just didn't fall my way. But overall, I felt like I've had some really good pace this season, a bunch of top 5s and top 10s, and hopefully I can continue that moving forward, especially in these next few races where I feel like they're pretty strong tracks of mine, except for Indy, and hopefully I can try to make some noise here.
Well, we appreciate your time up here in the booth, Gilberto. We wish you good luck here these last 5 races. Interesting to see where you happen to end up here at the end of the season.
Thank you very much.
Gilberto in the 23. We'll try to get through these interviews as quick as we can as practice starting the round out here. 5 minutes left. I think Jake Scarborough, I believe, next on the docket here with Diego.
Yeah, let's go. Jake Scarborough, this is Diego. Matthew and Christian on the HBTV booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Chase, the race number 1, what is your plan?
Oh, geez, I don't even know. I've got high hopes going into tonight. We've been on a good momentum stretch outside of Dega. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing how tonight goes. I feel like this was a strong track for me last season and just had a pit road penalty get in the way. So hopefully no mistakes tonight on pit road, no mistakes out on track. not getting caught up in anyone's business like last week, and get a good result. Obviously, Bryson's going to be a hard guy to get catch with how many bonus points he's got, but I think after these 5 races, I think the 77 can be in the title fight. I don't know. It's just going to be putting everything together and making everything work.
You get almost pretty much like good amount of top 5. So are you looking for any racetrack on these 5 races?
Oh, geez. If tonight was an option, I'd say tonight. I don't know. I have high hopes for Milwaukee. I have high hopes for the Glen. I feel wonderful at plate tracks. I feel like that's more my forte. And then Vegas, I feel strong at as well. So I don't know. I feel like these 5 races could work out if I just play my cards right.
Hey, well, we're gonna get you go. Have a great race. Good luck, and we're gonna get you to your teammate.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
And Jake comes in here P7. I don't see Adam Tal in the VC, so I think we're gonna move on to Ryan here with Matthew up here in the booth.
Brian Ronnebaum, driver of the number 7 car. Me, Matthew, Christian, and Diego up in the HVTV booth. Let us know if you can hear us.
Gotcha, you guys.
Awesome stuff. Brian, starting here in the yellow and green machine, number 7 car, Ford Mustang. Talk to us a little bit about your mindset coming in here to Indy.
Well, just stay out of trouble, and probably going to be like a follow the leader kind of situation. We know it's going to be single file most of the night, so maybe just take care of my stuff. And I would like to be up front, but sitting in the back doesn't sound like a bad idea, and being there at the end. But I would like to be, leading the pack. So we'll see. Got to get this qualifying run, have a good, mindset. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll certainly be looking out for you in qualifying. Talk to us a little bit about the next 5 races in this chase stretch. We're going to a lot of different variety of racetracks. We got a road course, we got Super Speedway in Daytona, short track in Milwaukee. Anything you're looking forward to or not looking forward to so much?
Not looking forward to Watkins Glen. I'm gonna have to put in the work there, put some laps down. Daytona is gonna be circled for me. Came second place at Talladega, last season. This past run at Talladega didn't have such a good showing. Daytona is definitely going to be my circled track. Milwaukee I haven't tried yet, so usually short tracks are all right for me, but definitely looking forward to Daytona.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out for you at Daytona as well. And one last question before we let you go here. Any strategy coming here to Indy? We got some newer drivers that are going to be showing up in the AWC Pro Series, so any particular headspace that you're going to be in with regard to long run, short run speed, looking forward to green flag runs, or just kind of keeping your car clean if there are yellows, anything that is particularly on the forefront of your headspace right now?
I honestly really just want to follow Jake around. I think Jake gets around this track pretty good. I know Brett Bennett gets around this track pretty good. I'll probably be watching for those 2 guys, copying them to see what they do. Yeah, just try to get around the fast guys. That's all I've got on my mind right now.
All right, well, we appreciate your time up in the HVTV booth. That's Ryan Ronnebaum, driver of the number 7 car. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. You guys enjoy the show.
We appreciate Ryan for his time. He comes in here P9 in points, and we'll also, as we're speaking of these teammates, we'll talk to Jake and Ryan's teammate here, and Brendan Reed in the 57 up here in the booth. I think it's our last driver we see in the VC, so. Hey, Brendan, it's Christian, Diego, and Matthew up here in the HVTV booth. You got a copy?
Howdy. How's it going?
Well, not too bad for us up here in the booth, but for you, obviously coming in here P10 in points to start the chase off here. A 5-race stretch for you and this whole 57 team. What's the mindset? What's the outlook here coming into Indy?
Just trying to get as good as finishes as I can. I mean, there's a bunch of monsters in this field. And, just gonna have to climb that mountain and get the best finish I can get each week.
Yeah, obviously, you've done a good job of keeping that 57 clean for most of the races. Obviously, I feel like everybody's had a race or 2 where they, just got caught up in some incidents. But for you, I feel like that's what got you, into the spot you are. You're the last driver to actually clinch your way into the chase here on, on points. Brett and Carlos, had to use those wild card waivers to get themselves into the chase. But looking into these next 5 races, is there a strategy for any other race that you might think that you could have a better shot at? Maybe working your way up inside maybe the top 5 here in points.
I mean, Daytona, I always feel good about going to the super speedways. Milwaukee, I feel like I could be good at, but at the end of the day, it's just a matter of keeping the car clean and having everybody else make mistakes and capitalize on it.
Yeah, obviously, a very diverse set of tracks there with Indy. Tonight here, Milwaukee, Watkins Glen, we have a little bit of everything, right? A mile and a half. Milwaukee kind of drives like a short track Daytona, and then obviously the road course of Watkins Glen. So definitely a big stretch of tracks here to set yourself up for success here. But qualifying underway here, so we're going to let you go and focus on that. But we wish you good luck here in these last 5 races here in the chase.
I appreciate it.
That was the 57 of Brendan Reed. We have a Carlos Acosta up in the booth. We'll see if he's out on track trying to set a lap time. As he is, we will get him after maybe he sets his qualifying time. We'll hand him back over to Diego.
Let's get him after.
Yeah. And we will talk to Carlos after he sets his lap here. But we'll go ahead and look at him as he's going around the track here.
90-degree angle turns right here. Coming out of 4, he's gonna get his green flag right here.
And in Indy, a very, very big track here. We're probably gonna be running around 50-ish second lap times here. So it's one of those tracks that you have to hit your marks. You can't afford to reset and try to restart qualifying here. We only have 5 minutes here, 2 laps for these AWC Pro drivers, and you really have to hit your marks at Indy with how big this track is. It takes, almost, you see now, he came out of the gate there, and it took him almost a whole minute to get up to speed just on that out lap to start his first time lap here. And you just cannot afford to, make mistakes here. You got to hit your marks here every time if you want to get a good time here out of Indianapolis.
Yeah, and just like you mentioned, Christian, you see the flames out of the pipes as we're watching on the broadcast cameras right now. They're definitely going to be hitting your marks with the off and on throttle times, and I think that's something to look out for here is who are the guys that are able to get that car rotated the best in these long sweeping left-handers. And it's definitely a very unique racetrack in that sense because there is a lot of consideration with how quickly you can get back into the throttle, and this track really rewards those drivers that are able to modulate their gas and brake pedals the best, I think.
I definitely agree. It looks like Carlos might be ending his run here, so we're gonna go ahead and drag him up here and then have Andres, talk to him for a little bit here as he gets done with qualifying. Looks like, well, where is he? P10 here for that O2 machine.
Hello, this is Diego, Matthew, and Christian on the booth of HBTV. You got a copy?
I got a copy. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing very good. Well, you already got your qualified. You're starting P10. P10. Well, of course. P11 actually. As we keep going with the qualifying. How you're feeling for this first race on the chase?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not quite getting a true feel of the car. I'm able to push the car, but I'm not concerned about spinning out. I'm just trying to find what's the actual balance gonna be. I'm a notoriously bad qualifier, so I'm probably going to be towards the back half of the field. That's expected. I just want to see how quickly I can adapt and make my way back up front.
Do you have any plans for these 5 races that you're going to have on this chase?
Well, definitely I need to get top 10s, that's for sure. I want to get top 5s as well. I don't think I have one this season. I've been close a couple times, but I need to be more consistent, get out there, and finish strong. And I know I can definitely do that.
One last question before you're pretty much the only rookie on this chase, so you're pretty much won the Rookie of the Year. Congratulations.
No, Sam Howell is also a rookie. Yeah.
Okay.
I somehow forgot, but yeah, no. It's okay. Between him and myself.
So you're pretty much like looking for the Rookie of the Year fight. Like, how you looking for?
Yeah. I feel very confident about that. Sam's a great competitor. He's a great driver. It's not going to be an easy battle. But we'll see. We'll see how we do after the first couple of races to see where we are. And I think with me being able to be here for the last 5 ones, I'll be able to put up a really good fight for that.
Hey, thank you so much, and have a good luck in this race.
Thank you so much. Good luck to you guys as well.
I appreciate Carlos for taking his time here after qualifying, nonetheless, to talk to us here about his hopes in the chase here as we get ready to go. Green flag racing here from Indianapolis. 80 laps here from Indianapolis, and obviously we didn't get a look at your point standings. We'll probably try to look at that when we get the opportunity to during the broadcast, because we already have our drivers getting ready to get lined up here and ready to go here from Indy to start, you know, the chase here for season 20. But we didn't get a good chance to talk about some of our faster qualifiers. Matthew C. White up on the pole here. He's been really quick since he's come up onto the scene here in the AWC Pro Series. But speaking of that, let's go ahead and take a look at your starting lineup here, presented by HVTV. I'll get your front 10 here, and I'll hand off Matthew for the teens here, and Diego can round us back out there. But Matthew C. White, your pole sitter here in that number 25 Monster Energy machine. We saw him be really quick there at Talladega last week. Fidel Fabian in a 51 back there in P2. Wyatt Roberts, one of your playoff drivers, alongside Jake Scarborough, running out that row too. Joel Farlow in the number 24 back there in P5, and P6 Ryan Ronnebaum in that number 7 machine. P7 goes to Gilberto Gamera alongside Bryson Byrd in that new Valvoline scheme, and Enrique Cucalon in the 22. Javier Soto running out that top 10.
Taking a look through your 11th through 20th starting positions here in the AWC Pro Series, we've got Cole J. Wilson in the 27 car, Monster Energy white Chevrolet Camaro. Next to him, Carlos Acosta, number 02 car, just spoke with him. He'll be looking to go on his way up from a starting position of 12th. Matthew Chastain in the 12 car. Brett Bennett in the 06 car. Good to see him joining us today. Dawson Allen, the 97, going to be interesting to see how he does today at Indianapolis. Brennan Reed in the 57 car. Right next to him is Sam Boutwell in the 47 machine. Also spoke to him. Going to be interesting to see how he does today. Taylor Strong in the 11 car. Jackson W. Jones in the 94. And Oscar Enriquez in the 20th starting position.
Enrique not in the session, so possibly it's not going to be a starting. But here we're gonna have Shane O'Neill on the 91, or run 11, right next to the number 40 of Alex Duster. Adam Tall, who pretty much came in last second on this session, he's going to be starting in the last row with Christopher Logan.
Yeah, something to talk about here with that number 34 machine. I was told by Jake, our league owner here for the AWC Pro Series, if that 34 did not make it, he was going to get kicked from the playoffs. So I think that was more of like a desperate, I need to be in here to be eligible to race for a championship this season. So interesting to see how Adam's going to shake out here. But looking at your race conditions here from Indianapolis, 80-degree air temperature, 111 track temp. So it's hot, it's slick, and it's going to be interesting to see how these drives handle it. 25% humidity with little to no wind. Clear skies here from Speedway, Indiana. So still perfect conditions to go racing, but that track temp, Matthew, hot and slick. It's going to be interesting to see how these drivers navigate it.
Yeah, and speaking of that track temp, that just tells me, you know, little to no margin of error, which was already slim at this style of racetrack. And so for these drivers, I think it's going to be a handful in this O'Reilly machine, and particularly getting into the corners here side by side, especially because of how Diego mentioned earlier, you know, you're not really going to be going 3 wide unless you're blowing up or wrecking or, you know, shoving it 3 for a last lap pass, for example. But yeah, I think it'll be really cool to see how they handle this track today.
We are pretty much like with the pace car like to turn off. One important thing, yeah, these guys are gonna look for pretty much like always the draft. So we'll see how these guys are gonna handle these cars. In the start, it's gonna be a little bit loose, especially with that air pulling those cars. So we'll see how it goes in the start. But once these laps goes, these cars are gonna handle much better.
You see them already in the restart zone, handing the race off to Barney the Flagman. And it's going to be Matthew Chastain, Fidel Fabian, Ford, Chevy, front row. As we're green here for 80 laps to start your chase here in Season 20. On this front stretch for the first time here, it's going to be a side-by-side battle between the 25 and the 51. Matthew White trying to take the lead away from the 51, but Fidel fighting hard on that top side.
Yeah, and you know Fidel is going to try everything in his power to lead some laps here and put himself in good position. I haven't seen him up in the front too many times throughout the AWC regular season, but once again, as we mentioned the chase so much in our preseason, we see him actually get in the outside wall. Maybe a bad shove from the out back of Wyatt Roberts. Both of those guys definitely going to be looking for a win here in Indianapolis.
Wyatt Roberts right here trying to go ahead and be the one leading the chase cars pack. Behind him it's gonna be Jake Scarborough. So he told us he's one of the best racetracks. So pretty much the two guys that are like pretty much looking forward to this race is Jake Scarborough and Wyatt Roberts, pretty much 3 and 4th.
Right now, and those are the two drivers, you know, leading the way here when it comes to the chase, right? That 42, that 77, then the 24, and then the 53. All them 5 cars under a blanket. Led by that 42, and then rounding out with that 53 of Bryson Byrd. He's going to make a move on the 24 of Joel Farlow here down the front stretch.
Yeah, and Bryson Byrd is always a contender, right? And I think particularly at this racetrack where, you know, we've just seen Bryson be able to adapt pretty much everywhere we go, right? It's no mystery that he's able to, you know, find some speed early on here in Indianapolis for sure.
Jake Scarborough also did the move on Wyatt Roberts. Wyatt Roberts went down to 4th place. Bryson Byrd did a very great move on Joe Farlow. Joe Farlow's a little bit with blinking coming out of 1, so we're going to keep an eye on Joe Farlow as well if his internet is able to keep up. We see the onboard with Jake Scarborough. Right behind is going to be Wyatt Roberts. Right behind him is going to be Bryson Byrd. Bryson Byrd is going forward right away. It's not going to waste any time.
Yeah, Bryson, you know, has been one of those aggressive drivers who, as you see, oh, man, really, really wide back there. I think that was a 57 of Brendan Reed trying to make a move there, but we've always seen this 53 be aggressive. He wants a track position, and he wants it quick. But something we've seen now, you know, you see that car squirming around already. You have to think, you know, he's trying to be aggressive to get those track positions, but you cannot afford to burn the tires up here that early. I talked to some drivers. The field window's around 33 to 34 laps here. Remember, no stages here in the AWC Pro Series. So if it goes green here, they're going to have to hold on potentially for, you know, 30 to 35 laps here on these Goodyear Eagles.
And that's a long run on this hot and slick racetrack we were talking about right before we went green here. And yeah, I think as soon as you're talking about Christian slide the tires here, that's pretty much game over in terms of your instantaneous speed, right? And so you really cannot afford to be scrubbing those tires at all here. And I think one important thing to notice is as we get single file here, these guys are running side by side, especially on corner exit. That inside car can no longer track out to the wall and carry as much speed, and so anytime there is side-by-side, those two cars are just slowing each other down an immense amount. And for this track, which really demands you to be able to use up the entire racetrack on corner entry and exit, I think that the guys that are going to be in front of anybody battling side-by-side are going to be able to pull away by a significant amount. But speaking of the leader right now, we saw Fidel Fabian. He is actually keeping quite a nice gap in between himself and first place, so definitely being able to wheel this car around the racetrack so far within the first 10 laps of this event.
Bryson Byrd is trying to pull for 3rd position right here, passing Jake Scarborough. He's gonna have the help from Wyatt Roberts. So like I said, you're gonna have much more. It's pretty much like Pocono in terms of racing. Pocono, you need to go ahead and be on the draft. You need to have somebody behind you to be able to go ahead and pass somebody else. As we see, especially with the latest update, the side draft of these cars are going to be much more stronger. So the moment that you have some people fighting side by side, you're going to see a lot of cars pulling away. As you see, there's already 2 packs. It's because early in the race, a lap earlier, there was Farlow and Runabout fighting side by side, and they were side drafting so much that they were pretty much like missing the first pack.
Yeah, it's something you have to talk about. In a way, you need a drafting buddy here at at Indy, like you said, and Dre's at the Pocono style tracks, right? And if anything, you know, it's better to just sit in line, especially here in these first couple laps. Or we're not even 10 laps in yet. Get a feel for the car, right? You're going to see some drivers be aggressive, like Bryson Byrd. You know, up, 5 spots from where he started, all the way back in P8, up into the P3 position. But you see someone like Jake. You see someone like, Wyatt Roberts, who are just sitting in line, waiting it out, sitting in the draft, not going to put themselves in the opportunity to, lose the draft too early, right? I mean, this is going to be huge if we do not get a caution and we go green, which it's very possible here. Obviously, I'm interested to see how these drivers are going to handle on these older tires, but right now it seems like everybody being pretty cordial with each other, and I think that's just, what the chase coming about, right? Everybody in the chase are going to, I feel like, are going to be cordial with each other because they cannot make enemies here in these 5 races. And then the guys who aren't in the chase at all, right, trying to be cordial because they don't really have anything to race for except this win. Here comes the 27 of Cole Wilson on the bottom of the 77. Jake just lets him go.
Yeah, and speaking of Cole Wilson, right, currently up 7 spots from starting position. So likewise with Bryson Byrd, definitely charging their way up through the fields. We see the 77 car making a battle back on the inside. Jake Scarborough, he'll have to concede that position into the short chute there. But yeah, as they go down the backstretch, obviously, I'm thinking that, like Diego mentioned, this draft is going to be huge. You see Wyatt Roberts there on the inside, diving it down into turn 3, able to make the move. And also talking about Bryson Byrd, I noticed as we were following along with him for a few laps, he's really able to peek that left front half of his car out underneath the guys in front of him as soon as he's able to close up on their rear bumpers. And so I think he's definitely someone to look out for in terms of being able to set up passes, right? And I think that that's really the art of this racetrack, is being able to set up the pass, which really starts, a few corners ahead of time, a few straightaways ahead of time, where you really have to be able to use that draft and work closer and closer towards the person in front of you, little by little, and either capitalize on a mistake or really find a good way to carry your momentum, as we see Bryson Byrd now going to the inside of Phil Fabian.
So right here, he had a good amount of speed going into the last straightaway, and he's able to make the pass in turn 3. You want to make that pass right away on the first turn because you know that you're going to be on the turn. You know that the car right in front of you is going to give you that draft. So if you're able to pass that car before passing on the turn 1 or turn 3, it's going to be a clean and easy pass instead of like trying to make the pass on turn 4 or turn 2 in this case, because you're going to have pretty much the straightaway right after, and what you needed in straightaway is very much the draft. And since everybody is going to be on the outside wall, your draft is not going to be possible, and you're going to be stuck in the inside.
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier, Diego. When it came to when you get the run, you have to make the pass as soon as you can because you cannot afford to sit side by side, right? And with the way the side draft is, you slow each other down, right? If you get the run, if the guy in front of you was smart, he might, like we saw with the 77 and Jake Scarborough, he had a bad set of corners trying to battle for a spot, and he just kind of let people go because he didn't want to sit there and sit side by side, right? Now he sits back there in 5th in the draft. Granted, these front 2 are starting to get away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, and I think right now, you spoke of Wyatt Roberts, right? Kind of just biding his time, sitting back and not really pushing the issue after giving up a few spots after the opening laps. You see him now back and forth. I think we're definitely going to see a bit of waxing and waning, so to speak, with a lot of these drivers that have shown speed early on. Maybe we see Bryson Byrd start to fade a little bit longer after this green flag run. But if his car is working well in the clean air, maybe he stays up front. And so right now, I think it's as early on as it is. We're definitely seeing the guys that are able to work towards the front with stronger cars capitalize with Bryson Byrd as well as Cole J. Wilson right there in the white Monster Energy machine. But I'm thinking that the long run speed is really going to reward the guys that are taking care of their stuff, right? And whether or not that's good enough to best Bryson Byrd, who we know has the most consistent speed as we saw throughout the regular season, is definitely a question that's left to be answered.
See over there as well, Joe Farlow almost lost the second pack, but now he's able to go ahead and like get back at it. Of course, he's still having those little blinking situation, but as far as I see, he's not having any problem. But as we see, he on the onboard, he's lifting some. Try to keep up with the draft. Also, you gotta remember the dirty air on these cars is something that you gotta be looking for, especially coming into this track, because the dirty air, you're gonna get that car very tight, and the car, when it goes tight on Indianapolis, it's gonna bite you bad.
Yeah, definitely. The aero push is something that has definitely changed the way that these cars handle here, as we've gotten this new update here, and then you can hear them just trying to fight this car here behind the dirty air, the 27. You hear him, he wanted to get in the gas, had to back out of it. Once again, here in this corner, just hear him feathering it, just trying to do anything he can to try to keep this car going, in the right direction here. And I think he's done a good job, honestly, right now at least. We'll go ahead and look at the 27, but we'll continue to focus on this 24. He's done a good job staying back there. He hasn't been aggressive to make up spots or anything yet. He's just sitting in line right here. Granted, this is kind of the second pack now. Now Cole Wilson has a blinking issue. We'll go back up to the 77 at Scarborough. But, yeah, obviously we've seen these two front leaders kind of start to get away. Something I'm starting to see, is something I haven't seen in a while here in any car. I'm starting to see kind of almost like a COT kind of tandem kind of thing going, where, like, it seems like some people are content just sitting behind someone, right? Just kind of pushing them out, right? And getting away from the rest of the field. And then you might see later on, right? Maybe if someone's a little bit quicker, they'll have to make the move, and then that other guy will sit back and try to just continue the draft with that car in front.
Yeah, you draw a good parallel, Christian, to the older style COT racing for sure. And particularly at Indianapolis, right? Where we know, those longer run, single line choo-choo train style, racing is, somewhat of something that people look back on not so fondly. But as we see these drivers kind of attack the track with different perspectives, right? And we see a little bit of a breakaway with those leaders that we know are pushing the issue right now. It really raises a question, right? Once again, thinking back to, the earlier years of Indianapolis and the COT, are the tires going to be, are the tires going to be holding up as good as these guys anticipate them? As we see already Bryson Byrd sliding out of the corner there in turn 2 all the way up to the outside retaining wall. Is this car in this track with the tire degradation, is that going to be something of concern for these drivers up in the front of the field?
Well, you're gonna still do like some style of strategy. Remember that this track is gonna be very big, so if you're pretty much in the start of the pack, a little bit on the ball, it's gonna be Bryson Byrd right there trying to keep up with the 25. But yeah, like you say, there's gonna be some strategies happening on this race. If the race is gonna be going to green, you're gonna see guys going earlier on the pit stop, or you're gonna see guys going later. The thing is, if you're going to the pits and you have a lucky yellow, you might be able to go ahead and like do a good part of like throwing the dice as well, because the racetrack is so big that you're not gonna be able to go ahead and lap the car. That's how KTK won his race in 2017. And well, if you remember, Paul Menard back in 2011 hold back charging Jeff Gordon, who was able to pit. Meanwhile, Paul Menard didn't. So yeah, you can go ahead and like do some strategies, but you're gonna be very, very fine on trying to go ahead and like get that position to win.
Man, that's a good point you made there, Diego, right? The track is so big that you can't afford to mess around with the strategy, right? Paul Menard fuel saved to his Brickyard 400 victory, right? He didn't, he short pit and just held off a charging Jeff Gordon there, and when he won his, crown jewel race here at the Yard of Bricks. But, that's something you have to think about is the tire strategy, right? Do you push now and try to hold on here, right? And you're starting to see now Bryson Byrd starting to fall off just a little bit compared to that 25, but still, running faster lap times than P3 on back. Wyatt Roberts has started to, gap himself to the rest of the field here as well. So he's got about a second, just over a second gap back to the P4 and on back. And that's the strategy you have, right? The U short pair. Remember, we talked about it earlier. The most you can go is probably 33, 34 laps here. Do you try to, use your stuff up early this race, short pit, get the fresh good your tires, and maybe do a little bit of a longer run now that you have kind of that gap. You might see maybe a Matthew White, maybe a Byrd, maybe a Roberts, kind of short pit and take advantage of the track position they gained here early by pushing their stuff.
Yeah, you're totally right, Christian, because with that track position buffer, it really gives you some flexibility with the pit strategy, obviously. And so, thinking about a guy like Bryson Byrd, like you mentioned, Christian, we've seen him time and time again be able to, really have that flexibility that I mentioned at the racetracks that we've been to already, and just really been able to, play around with that pit strategy. We've seen him short pit and long pit. As we see a big slide out of turn 4 there. I think those tires are definitely begging him to, reconsider pitting if he's thinking about staying out any longer. But yeah, as we think about the pit strategy, once again, I'm thinking that Bryson Byrd is definitely one of our stronger contenders when it comes to getting on and off pit road in a timely manner, and also in a way that he just naturally ends up cycling towards the front. You see some side by side here with Ryan Ronnebaum and Carlos Acosta. 3 wide TV on the bottom of the track there. He's going to get by Ryan, and he'll also be pulling through the 84 car. You see right there, 94 actually, of Jackson W. Jones. And we see them scrapping a bit as we go down the back straightaway. You also see the 47 car of Sam Boutwell, also in contention. We talked to him during the pre-race. And so, yeah, once again, as we look further back in the field, we got a little bit of entertaining racing here.
Ronnebaum is having a little bit of trouble happening right here. He was pretty much in the top 10. He's right now on P13, getting back into P14, so he's going backwards. Hopefully some of these drivers don't get too much in panic mode and try to go ahead and say, all right, in the start of the race, I did a little bit of I killed my tires trying to go forward or try to manage the race. I was almost in the wall right there on turn number 1. Ronnebaum is gonna try to go ahead and try to keep that car off the wall. As we see, it's gonna be fine. Here comes the number 47 of Sam Boutwell. He's gonna have the run and possibly be able to clear the 7 on the back straightaway. So, yeah, Indianapolis is not a very easy track. As you see over there, like if you're not hitting your marks and you're not hitting the line properly, your car is gonna pretty much scream, especially on the tires, and is gonna get too tight or too loose. Like we see over here with Ronnebaum, is pretty much tight. We see with Bryson Byrd, he's getting loose. So that's the different way, the different situations between these drivers that are pretty much fighting with this racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely easy to kind of lose kind of the rhythm here. You make a mistake here, and then you get taken advantage of, like the 7 was. He was running up inside the top 10, now outside the top, almost, and outside the top 15 there in that Days of Thunder, inspired scheme there. And it's easy to kind of lose your balance here on the car and just kind of fumble through a couple laps here until you can figure out what the car needs to do again. I think he's kind of found the balance once again on the 7 machine, and is going to need to do a little bit of a better job, trying to get back up towards some of these guys who got around him early. But we talked about it. I mean, we're still, 10, 12 laps away from, at the very least, the edge of the fuel run, right? I mean, I'm interested to see, some people might try to come down maybe around like lap 25, maybe a little bit later. But, I mean, we're approaching potentially, a fuel strategy pit window here in the next coming laps.
Well, yeah, and talking about that fuel strategy, right? At what point, would we start to consider someone who would really benefit from, getting some more track position, getting those fresh Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel? Because obviously, the sooner you put those tires on, right, the sooner you can start really cutting into the lap times of those who are staying out. And if I'm in the position of someone like Wyatt Roberts on back, I'm thinking that maybe it's a good idea to start thinking about a smarter way of getting by the two guys in front of me by getting those fresh Goodyear tires and just being able to set some quicker lap times that way, because obviously as it stands right now with 23 laps completed, obviously Wyatt Roberts been able to stay within a two-second gap as we see some blinking out of the 24 car right now. But a lot of different strategies to consider here, because do you consider the the drivers in front of you as kind of forcing your hand, right, if you're further on back in the pack, or are you still kind of running your own strategy regardless of what happens in front of you? So you see some side by side here with Ricky Cucalone trying to stay to the bottom. You see a little bit of loose there going into turn 4. He'll keep the car straight and maybe clear on corner exit. No, it looks like he might still be side by side. The 24 car on his outside, you see right there. 24 car able to get a little bit of a run on corner exit.
And that's kind of the draft we're talking about, right? The 24 had the 51 of Fidel to kind of, I wouldn't say bail him out, but give him the run he needed to keep this 22 behind. I think right now, Enrique is probably quicker than the 51 and this 24 right now. But once again, it's hard to, build up that run if you don't have the help to do it, right? And right now, it seems like right now this 51 and this 24 are content kind of working with each other, or at least, sitting in line to help the 24 kind of defend here on this top side, right? The 22 trying to make it work, but once again, the blinking I don't think is also, something you have to talk about, right? It's makes it a lot harder to make a move and make a pass work here. And the caution is out, and the pace car will come out.
Wow.
See if we can find with that. Looks like maybe Gilberto might have had an issue here.
One of the drivers of the chase.
Yeah, this is really going to shake things up here with regard to that pit strategy. And yeah, I'm not quite sure what could have happened there. We'll take a look at the replay we were talking about. Yeah, you see right there, 23 car getting down in the corner. Everything's fine here. Comes off the corner there, and
might have just
links out.
Might have just. Well, here he comes. Now he's wrecking or something. I think maybe
Yeah.
a hardware issue or something. Because
Possibly.
Because now he's
Wow.
out of the right here. I think he might have.
Oh wow! Yeah.
I think I don't know. Maybe it was an internet issue or what. But you see him. He's been blinking in and he was blinking in and out, in and out, in and out, and then finally you see him kind of stopped. Right here, on the bottom of the track. Obviously, I don't know if we have a race control for tonight's race, but if we don't, that's definitely an iRacing worthy caution. That's something that iRacing would definitely call. Once again, I don't blame Gilberto on that one. It just looked like I don't know if it was internet or maybe it was a wheel getting unplugged. I know sometimes when you're sitting at your computer and something unplugs USB wise, it can freak out your PC and make stuff blink in and out depending on how demanding the sim is on your computer. If you don't have, like, if I don't know, what kind of computer Gilberto has, if it's a really good one, or if he's just doing everything he can to get the most frames out of it. Just a simple USB getting unplugged on accident can make that computer kind of panic there. And I think that's kind of what happened there. And unfortunately, he was blinking in and out, couldn't see things probably, and just tried to get it out of the way. Unfortunately, that will throw the caution here from Indy.
And I would say this is the first time, of course, we like to see on IRL, real life, how the races are going. But of course, this is virtual racing, and sometimes a lot of drivers are having a lot of issues with either internet or maybe some stuff happening on their rig, on their computers. Like, for example, we saw John Farlow having issues. Cole Wilson, the number 27, that was pretty much having a good race. He pretty much got booted out of the race for connections issues, and now we have Gilberto Camara, one of the first chase drivers, having issues on the first race. Of course, we had Amon Toll in trying to get inside of the session in the start of the race as well. In the start of the session, he wasn't able to get in, and he was able to get in the last second. So, yeah, a lot of drivers having issues today.
As we looked at that order coming off of pit road there. Pretty fast and tidy stops out of the top several drivers. The running order does not appear to be that much change for the top several, but obviously, those fresh tires and kind of a reset here are definitely gonna, I think, shake up the field a little bit. Gonna have 2 wide restart, right? So, Christian, what are the kinds of things that you can try to use to your advantage if you're on one of these front few rows here at Indy for this restart?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you need to be good on the restart here. You don't really get caught sleeping, because especially here with how, kind of good you need to be on the restarts. It's very momentum based here. You can't if you get jumped here, you're gonna fall back a couple spots at the very least here. But something I'm thinking about is, maybe did the 42, did the 77, did they learn something here? Because we kind of saw the 25 and this 53 get out and really abuse their stuff early. And at least for that first, 25 lap run, no one really got back to them, right? It was really the 25 and that 53 out, a good, 3 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Obviously, we saw that 25 of Matthew White. He's been really quick all race, and I think he might be a favorite to win tonight. But, are these guys maybe going to follow in the footsteps of these two in front and maybe try to push a little bit harder at the start of this run and just hope to kind of, be able to hold on to the car here for the second run of the night?
Bryson Byrd was pretty much losing time from Matthew White, and actually Wyatt Roberts was getting closer. I was looking at the pylon before that caution, and Wyatt Roberts was much faster than Bryson Byrd. So Bryson Byrd pretty much killed his tires trying to keep up with Matthew White. So he needs to be a little bit careful trying to keep up with the 25, because we know that 25 is actually good. But and also Bryson, I know that he is good. He is really good, but I think much more important is to try to get those positions, those points, and especially get yourself in that position in right now in that position right there for the 25, because this is lap 27, and if you pretty much destroy the tires right away, you're pretty much having a bad situation later in the race.
No, I definitely agree. And, looking back, the 25 is not race for a championship. That 53, that 42, that 77 is, right? If anything, it's nice to go and race for a win and kind of prove a point here. But at the end of the day, the that 25 does not really mean a whole lot. But you're going to see these two drivers go back into the restart zone and back green here to start lap 28. You see Barney with the flag in hand. Matthew White leads us back to green.
And you saw already a good jump out of that bottom lane. Matthew White will actually clear the top. Bryson Byrd, he'll pull Wyatt Roberts along with him, but Wyatt Roberts not able to get clear right there through the short chute. They're going to be side by side. Almost a little contact there. You see flames out of the pipes early into turn 2 for Bryson Byrd. Maybe a little bit of side drafting here out of Wyatt Roberts in that 3rd place spot, fighting for 2nd. We also see Fidel Fabian further on back, jockeying for position still, going down the back straightaway, side by side going into turn 3.
There were drivers trying to go forward, try to go bottom, try to look for that clean air, try to move ahead. We see Jake Scarborough trying to take that position from Fidel Fabian. Wyatt Roberts wasn't able to get that position from Bryson Byrd. He's going to stay on the 3rd position. Here comes Jake Scarborough, still trying to get that draft from the 42. He's going to be very close as we go into turn 1. They're going to be in braking zone, and Fidel Fabian is going to keep it pretty much. You don't want to be outside so much time, because you're going to burn those tires on the outside wall, and your car is going to start going to the wall. So you're going to be careful if you're able to keep that guard right there on the back straightaway. But Fidel Fabian is still strong.
Yeah, and that was really tight on corner exit there of turn 2. Just as I was talking about earlier on in the race, when your car wants to track out to that outside wall, you just cannot afford to do that when you have a car up there pretty much just pinching you down, and it's eliminating an entire lane for you on that corner exit. And so the natural momentum of your car, which is just to fade from the bottom of that curb, right, all the way up to that outside wall, is just completely eliminated.
And we saw this already, right? 77 trying to be aggressive to get around to 51. 51 Not racing for a championship. The 77 is, but with them racing side by side, start to see the top three. With a good, 4, 5, 6 car length gap already. Obviously not enough to where the 77 should start to fall back, but you've already seen, the fruits of that 77's labor start to show because, now he's going to have to, work a little bit harder to get back there. You see now him trying to approach the 42 of Wyatt. And I want to say something about Wyatt. He tried to take that P2 spot away, could not do it, and it really checked him up. And he kind of got bailed out because then the 77 and that 51 started battling it out for the P4 position. But once again, you're starting to see this 42 back up. And those front two, the 53, that 25, start to just snake away just a little bit here already early in this second round.
Yeah, you read my mind, Christian. Just a lap ago, we saw Wyatt Roberts, the flames out of the pipes on pretty much the area where you should be throttling up coming out of turn 2. But instead, we saw Wyatt Roberts drop further back on the back straightaway when we thought there was going to be a little bit of a breakaway with the top 3. We see now Jake Scarborough hounding him a little bit from behind, but a little bit of an aggression turn up here on this restart because obviously Wyatt Roberts is going to try to switch things up after, running third on back, not really able to come up to first and second. We see Bryson Byrd now diving it on the inside going into turn 3.
Bryson Byrd is trying to get that lead from the number 25 of Wyatt. It's going to be a little bit of contact right there, trading pains between the 25 and the 53. Bryson is going to stay on the bottom, trying to get that position, but no, here comes Wyatt Roberts on the outside. Look at that. He's going to try to go for the third, or no, he's going to keep it with a teammate. He's going to try to get that teammate behind, ahead of him. Bryson is going to get the run. Maybe, no, you got to check out because if not, he's going to get into the 25, and that's going to be very bad for the 53 of Bryson. Here comes into the turn number 2, getting off. They're going to stay side by side.
And these two just sitting side by side. It's allowing the rest of the field to catch up. Here comes, third, fourth, fifth on back. Coming to make up the time here. This 53 cannot make the pass work. The 25 doing a really good job trying to fight on the stop side. The 53 finally clears out of going into turn number 3. And now what does this 53 do? Obviously, we saw the 25 with a little bit better tire wear that last run, but now the 53 with the clean air. What can he do with it?
Yeah, that was a pretty good exchange for the top 4 drivers, pretty much working with, drivers that are pretty much just around them where they can find them, right? And Bryson Byrd able to come out of that on top. But you saw it right there, right? As soon as 2 guys are going side by side, that just drags the closest person behind him up to him very, very quickly, especially with the help of someone drafting from behind. See Bryson Byrd trying to break that draft a little bit, snaking down the back straightaway, almost like an IndyCar here, as we see so often in the month of May. But Bryson Byrd really trying to keep that track position in the top of the pack here. But you just know that White is really going to be battling in that 25 car to try and take over that position again.
What White needs to be careful. We know that he's fast, but for both White and Byrd, fighting so much is gonna get Wyatt Roberts is gonna stay with Bryson because both of them are teammates. Even though they're teammates, they're still racers. So Wyatt Roberts wants to get that lead as well. But behind them is gonna be a Jake Scarborough, and he's no teammate for anybody, as well as Peter Fabian. So if they get the opportunity to go ahead and put their cars behind to be able to pass, they will do it.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how these 42 and this 53 works together. You still see them snaking, trying to do stuff, and you saw Bryson Byrd almost get caught out doing this last lap. He had to really, go really defensive here in the turn 3 because the snaking didn't work. The 25 got to his inside barely. He had to cut his nose off, but now you talk about, right, these playoff drivers, they need the positions, they got the points, right? And Bryson right now is just trying to show that he is the guy to beat, right? He already comes in here, 13 points above 4th on back, right? And that's a lot of points, when it comes to a chase format, right? Where every point little counts, right? No stage points here in AWC Pro Series. The only bonus points you get is for leading laps, probably getting the fastest lap, and probably leading the most laps, I would say, are the only bonus points you get here. And sitting on the pole, obviously. And we know Bryson didn't do that. He's up, now 7 spots from where he started back there in 8th. But something I want to mention, Matthew White it just doesn't seem like he's pushing this car as hard as the 53 is. Oh, wow, a big block to the 25. The 25 has to lift it, and they'll give him the room, but looks like Matthew White just kind of sitting back there, kind of a little bit more comfortable than the 53 is. Not really pushing that car as hard as I see Bryson is right now.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, you know, Bryson Byrd almost looks like he's not really keeping pace up in the front of the field to the likes that, you know, Matthew White is hoping that he can be. You see a little bit of separation now, but all that blocking, you know, very aggressive, like you mentioned, Christian. I think all of this is just to say that, you know, Matthew White is, you know, just in a really good position right now. He feels comfortable with his car. It's handling well off the corners as he's able to close up just a bit on Bryson Byrd. But yeah, I mean, I think that third place car of Wyatt Roberts is really the control car in this situation, because if he decides to work together with that 25 car, push him up towards Bryson Byrd's rear bumper, that's really going to dictate whether or not the top two are going to get to side-by-side racing again. But you saw there all of that swerving back and forth and snaking down the backstretch and the front stretch from Bryson Byrd definitely paid off, as he's able to generate just a big enough gap so that he doesn't have to worry about blocking too much anymore. But I'm thinking that Matthew White is definitely going to be trying to get back up there, because you saw that, he was definitely trying to do everything in his power to get in front of Bryson Byrd, or at least get side by side with him.
Matthew White is trying to go ahead and like capitalize on every single part, like even the snaking from Bryson Byrd. Like, he's much better in the corners. Like, he's able to go ahead and like keep that car in the bottom and be able to go ahead and like get a good run out of one, out of two, out of three, out of four. He's able to go ahead and like get a good situation on Bryson. I think Bryson is trying to go ahead and like get that pull from Matthew White, because he knows that clean air is king on this racetrack. But as we see, like, of course, we have Peter Fabian like a little bit backing down, because maybe he pretty much like killed his tires trying to keep up with the leaders, and he's now in attack from Kukalon and Farlow, who are pretty much battling each other. Oh, Farlow a little bit tight right there with Kukalon. Kukalon almost hit the wall. Kukalon, by the way, one of our few drivers driving with a controller, so he's pretty well doing it, getting on a 6th place right now. So it never ceases to impress me, the Enrique Kukalon driving.
I definitely agree. You know, the first time I heard, you know, I've raced with Enrique. I've obviously, you know, this is my 2nd season with him up here in the AWC Pro Series, right? And when I was told that he, you know, occasionally runs on a controller, I was dumbfounded. He's done a really good job, you know, finding, you know, what he needs to do there on a gamepad. Everybody else is out here on a wheel, and you know, he's P2 in points, right? Coming in here P2 in points. So that's just, you know, nonetheless. But going back to this, I wanted to talk about this. You see the 53. He's starting to snake again. He's starting to get ran back down by these kind of this front four, right? Obviously down the front stretch, as everybody starts to snake around, kind of slinky back and forth. They catch him in the corners, and then they all kind of start to slinky out here on the straights. And you're starting to see already that 53. We saw this in the first run. That back end starting to step out. He's got the clean air. The car is going to rotate a little bit better. I think that's almost going to hurt Bryson's car. That's already kind of on the loose side on exit. But also I want to say this, that 25, I don't mind him running in P2, because I think this is a good learning point for Matthew. There's still a long ways to go in this race. He needs to learn how this car drives in the dirty air. He's been so used to the clean air of how it's going to drive. He needs to learn how it's going to drive in the dirty air, just in case he gets put in this spot later in the race.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Christian. And, you know, at the same time, you know, you can't blame him for the aggression that we're seeing as he's able to close up on that rear bumper of Bryson Byrd. It's got to be a little bit frustrating knowing that all that snaking is just preventing you from getting a good, clean run on him and utilizing that draft like we've been mentioning so much throughout the broadcast. But, you know, in this style car, in this style racing, right, it's such tight quarters racing, getting in and out of the corner, and so you really can't afford to be making a mistake. And when you're following along with someone who's, you know, throwing blocks and going back and forth, you see right there, you know, it kind of throws off your mindset on corner entry sometimes. And so you really got to be able to, you know, put all that aside and, you know, just remember to hit your marks despite all the moving around back and forth on the straightaways. But yeah, I'm thinking that this is also, like you mentioned, Christian, a good opportunity for him to just see how his car is handling behind another one, and also just study Bryson Byrd, right? Study where he's stronger or weaker than him, because as we've been seeing and as you mentioned already, Christian, we saw the back end already starting to step out for Bryson Byrd, and also pretty early into the run at the start of this race, within the first 20 laps of the event, we already saw that rear end starting to slide out, and that was chasing Matthew White in second place. And so now the roles are switched a little bit now, and so it'll be a really neat battle between these two, as we see once again Bryson Byrd not too content with that gap and continuing to snake on that back straightaway.
I see Matthew White is much better than Bryson Byrd right now. I see that 25 is able to go here, like keep that car clean, getting on that exit. Bryson Byrd is still trying to fight his car. As we see over here, he's very close to that 53. Jake Scarborough and Wyatt Robert there were doing a very good job, even though they're now pretty much losing time to both of their leaders. So these two guys are like great together. They're like the best cars right now, but I would say Matthew White is the one to beat, because right here you can see how he's much more lower in the corner, crossing that white yellow line. Of course you can pass that yellow line. It's almost the same line that you see from the IndyCar race. It's almost White was pretty much like thinking that Bryson was gonna do the snaking over there. He went bottom, but Bryson stayed on the top. Almost like muscle memory right there coming from Matthew White, and he's still able to get behind that 53.
Yeah, and if I'm Wyatt Roberts right now in the 42 car in third place, I'm just thinking that I got to stay in touch with these two, because as soon as they get side by side, that might be my best chance of getting back up towards the front. And so as we are now, less than halfway through left with this event, I think that that's definitely something to look out for, is whether or not Wyatt Roberts is going to be able to capitalize on a possible side-by-side battle between these two. But also saw, as we rode on board looking back from Bryson Byrd, Matthew White just sliding just a little bit on that corner exit going onto the straightaway. And so I'm thinking that these two are definitely going to be looking for mistakes in one another for sure.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see, how these kind of cars are trying to work with each other, right? Once again, we see kind of these two car tangos again, right? You see the 53 to 25 and the 42 and now the 77. Scarborough's been able to keep in touch with Wyatt here. It's interesting to see, how people are going to push, who's content being with who, and you see even some more two car tangos back there, the 51 and the 24, and you can kind of put the 22 in that picture as well. But something we do need to talk about is tonight's race sponsor, Brickhouse Designs. Didn't get the opportunity to talk about in the pre-races. We had a lot of homework to do tonight, but we got to give a huge shout out to Brickhouse Designs for sponsoring tonight's race here for the Brickhouse Designs 200. A graphic a painter and a graphic designer here for the sim. They do some graphic design work. They make logos, they make schemes, and everything else. So make sure to check out Brickhouse Designs. We will have a link in the description below after the race. Jake did not get us the link in time to put it in the description here for the live chat, but we appreciate Brickhouse for sponsoring tonight's broadcast here for the Brickhouse Designs 200. And yeah, definitely cool to have some more painters coming on board here and being a part of the AWC Pro Series.
Yeah, really glad to have Brickhouse Designs as a part of the AWC Pro Series broadcast. And obviously, big thanks to all of our sponsors that support us here in the AWC Pro Series. And I mean, right now, Matthew White is not going away. We've been green flag racing for quite a while now after these pit stops. And so you'd think that if there was a benefit for Bryson Byrd on those fresh Goodyear tires, it would have shown by now. But I'm not too sure that Bryson Byrd is comfortable in that driver's seat leading the race right now.
I definitely agree, because the one thing I'm seeing is not only is the 25 been able to keep up with the leaders, Wyatt Roberts is there. It's still within kind of striking distance. Jake Scarborough is within, a second almost of this pack. Remember when the 25 of Wyatt was leading this field, they gapped this field by 2 or 3 seconds, right? And now you have, this other two-car tandem back here within a second of the front two, right? And I'm just starting to think is maybe because Bryson just does not have the pace, you know, to get away from the rest of the field here. He's just been able to race a little bit defensively, but you're starting to see this 25 starting to get impatient with Bryson here as we enter turn 2.
Matthew White is gonna be trying to go ahead, and here comes Matthew White coming to the inside. He's gonna try to put his car. He's gonna be right there against Bryson Byrd, going into 3. Who's gonna be able to? Oh, a little bit of contact right there, trading paints between the 53 and the 25 once again. It's gonna be great for Wyatt Roberts. Wyatt Roberts is gonna try to get nearby that 2 cars battling for the lead. Matthew White is gonna steal side by side. He doesn't have any type of draft help, and Bryson Byrd is gonna be a little bit loose coming out of turn 4. They're gonna still be side by side for the lead right here. As we gonna go into turn 1, they're gonna be still right there. Wyatt Roberts is gonna appear.
Yeah, Wyatt Roberts, Jake Scarborough taking advantage of the situation here. And once again, we saw this before. It's really hard to pass on the bottom, right? The top just has such a good run off the corner. It's gonna be hard to make this pass work. We see the 25. He's trying to get away and try to get away from this kind of side draft effect on the backstretch. But here comes a 53. He's doing exactly what he needs to. He's coming down the track, the side draft, that 25, try to pull him back as they still stay side by side. Here comes Jake Scarborough on the bottom.
Yeah, Wyatt Roberts definitely missed the corner. You see him getting into the outside wall there. Wow, Matthew White was able to clear big time through the short chute there. And now Jake Scarborough trying to shake things up there on the inside of the racetrack with Bryson Byrd. And, I mean, the writing was on the wall there, obviously. I mean, we had 4 guys under a blanket on the back straightaway. Someone had to give. And Wyatt Roberts was definitely that guy that had to lift out of the throttle. But, I mean, we saw him. He just lost way too much momentum to stay in that 3rd place position. And now Jake Scarborough going to be able to, you know, throw a little bit of a curveball to these guys that haven't been racing around him too much. And so Bryson Byrd had to concede that 1st place position. And now we have Matthew White back in the control seat of this race.
Question is, Matthew White is going to be able to be faster than all those 3 together, because like we say, the draft is going to be one thing, but also having your tires much more better than the other 3 guys, especially after that little battle, pretty much killed some tires. We used some tires from all these guys, especially Wyatt Roberts, who's winning on the outside wall, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if you're this 25, you just got to hit your marks. We saw him pull away, and he wasn't playing any of the, the games here with the break in the draft, and he's still able to, keep it around, 2.5 to 3/10 gap, even with the draft here, the 53. And the thing that I think is just, making it worse, you see the 57 still off the track there, just getting out of the way of the leaders. Really respectful racing out of the 57. He's a playoff driver and still doing that, so that just shows how much he's trying to keep the integrity of the racing up. Look at this. I mean, this 25 is getting away here on the straight. Yeah, less, into the corners here. I mean, like I said, I think he's the guy to beat tonight, and it's just going to be, that battle for P2 between Byrd, Scarborough, and Roberts if we keep it green here from Indy.
Yeah, that was definitely the determining factor there with that battle, is who got out in first after that back and forth. And with Matthew White, like mentioned, being in that control seat, now it's kind of just up to the guys behind him to either work together or, battle it out between themselves for second. And so Bryson Byrd was definitely not able to keep pace. It was very impressive seeing how long he was able to stay in front of Matthew White, as we saw him getting hounded on many different occasions and throwing really aggressive blocks. But right now, unless I think we have another caution, it's really not going to be too much of a competition for first.
We continue to see the 25 start to sneak away once again here. Almost now 6/10. And like I said, I just think he's just a little bit more tidy with the inputs. We see Bryson. The thing that I've seen is he just really likes to drive it into the corner, right? And just kind of use the car on exit, right? This is Matthew, who he kind of rolls down in there, keeps it on the bottom, smooth in, smooth out, right? That's how you save your stuff. Bryson is notoriously been really bad at these kind of tracks where you have to, finesse the car through and just try to save your stuff. He's been, notoriously bad at saving the tires here at these tracks, and you're starting to see here, he's got tremendous pace, but just cannot hold on to the car, right? And you're starting to see him now start to fade back to, the 42 and the 77 is now, the 53 are going to be hounded by, these 2 guys behind here sooner rather than later.
Bryson Byrd is trying to go ahead like keep the second position, as Wyatt Roberts and Jake Scarborough is gonna be pretty much having the same situation that we saw earlier in the race. Wyatt Roberts is gonna be a little bit much more faster than Bryson Byrd, who was pretty much trying to keep up with Matthew White, pretty much kill his tires. And Wyatt Roberts is looking a little bit much better. Like the other difference over here is gonna be Jake Scarborough being right there as well. So if Wyatt Roberts is going to try to pass Bryson Byrd, he got to be careful because Jake Scarborough is going to take any opportunity to go ahead and pass both of them.
Yeah, and all it took was a few corners when the top two of Matthew White and Bryson Byrd were side by side for Wyatt Roberts and Jake Scarborough to cut that deficit down from a little bit over a second, at least with Jake Scarborough, to just a few tenths. And so it can all happen so quickly. And I'm thinking that, yeah, whether it's Jake Scarborough or pretty much anyone who's, within a few seconds of those leaders, any side-by-side action is really just a free pass to draft up and, set up a good overtake. But Wyatt Roberts was definitely the biggest loser of that previous exchange with the top four, because, missing that corner really just put him out of contention for being anywhere close to maybe take the battle to Matthew White. But we actually see Fidel Fabian going to pit road to the right of your screen, so maybe a little bit of pit strategy here. We knew who was a little bit further back in the top 10, so going to be interesting to see how he cycles out here. Also see the 7 car of Rana Baum further back in that green and yellow Ford Mustang, so gonna be a neat little curveball into everyone's plans here if these guys are able to pull off an undercut maybe.
Yeah, we ran 27 laps on this stint, so when we talked about the most you can go is 34, right? These guys haven't shown race-winning pace, right? Obviously, we've seen Fidel inside the top 5 for some portions of the race, and obviously we saw the 7 struggling pretty bad earlier in the race as well. So I don't really mind these guys trying to take the shortcut, undercut, some of the guys up front, see if they can keep this track position here. Obviously, we saw how much that the 53 could hold on to the race lead. Now, if it goes green here, they should inherit the race lead if it cycles out here. So I'm interested to see, depending on how much time, because remember, these guys are pitting, probably 6+ seconds behind. I'm interested to see if they even get the race lead after these, green flag pit cycle out.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, as you see another car coming down the pit lane there, right now, what I'm thinking about, Christian, is if any of these leaders are going to be able to take that pit strategy to their own advantage and maybe best Matthew White and be able to come out in front of him on pit strategy. We know Bryson Byrd loves to take advantage of those good years and was able to stay in front, as we've seen him now coming down the pit road. So of those top 5, he's going to be the first to bite on that pit road strategy. So and I like this call out of him, right? We've seen this before. You see Carlos Acosta also come down the pit road further back. We know Bryson Bird's been able to pull this kind of a strategy off before, and so for someone who doesn't have the handling that he needs on the long run with the current the current laps on the tires that he has with the others that are around him, I really like this call. And so why not, right? As we see him with a little bit of a shallow entry into his pit box, I'm thinking that this is not too bad of a strategy for Bryson Byrd.
A little bit of difficulty with Carlos Acosta behind us. He pretty much passed his stall right there, so it's gonna be a little bit of a problem for the number 02.
And going back to the 53, it kind of makes sense, right? Here comes the leaders here. I think they kind of reacted to the 53. So here comes the 25, the 77, the 42, the 22. Looks like the 12 of Chastain back there as well. Here comes the 90, the 95, I believe. No, that's the... Oh, man.
What?
What's going on back there? The Austin Allen. I think that was the...
What's going on?
94.
94, yeah.
I'm pretty sure 94.
He was close. It was do I pit? Do I not? Do I pit? Do I not? I'm pitting, right? In that white car. That was definitely a scary moment for him as he misses his box as well. So definitely not the pit entry he wanted. But Adam Tal going to get some laps here. He's technically a playoff driver, so Gonna stay out a couple more laps, get this, get some bonus points for leading some laps here in the 34. I believe he's the last car, on the lead lap to pit here, so he will. I mean, he's definitely off the pace here. You can just tell, car's not handling the way he wants it to. But I presume he comes down pit road, wanted that bonus point, and he'll take that 34 machine down pit road. And like we said, Fidel Fabian now trying to hold on here, but here comes the 53 of Bryson Byrd. Like we said, he just gave up way too much time. I think he wanted to lead a lap, but unfortunately these fresh tires just a little bit too quick for this 51 machine of Fidel.
Yeah, and we see the cycle benefiting Bryson Byrd, as we mentioned. So a really good decision by him to come down a lap or so before the leaders. And we see Wyatt Roberts a little bit further back there on the straightaway. But now that there's a car in between White and Byrd, I'm thinking that, that's just going to help Bryson Byrd even more. And we saw just how long he was able to keep Matthew White behind him in that previous green flag run. And so considering that this is the first green flag pit stop cycle that we've seen, I'm thinking this is just familiar territory for Bryson Byrd, as we mentioned. He's been here, right? Like he's won races like this before in the past in the regular season. So, I'm just really on board with this whole strategy so far.
We'll see how much it's gonna take for Matthew White to pass Fidel Fabian, because Matthew White, like we said, is pretty much the car to look for. So Bryson, what he needs to do is pretty much capitalize on what he needs to do is save those tires. Like right now, you're pretty much like went earlier than the 25, the 42, and the 77. So you know that you're gonna have the track precision. But now the more important mission is save those tires, because the moment that he that 53 is sliding those tires, that 25 is gonna go ahead like get closer.
Well, something I would do if I was a 53 right now. You save your stuff. We got a guy with oldie tires right now. Now here comes the move to the inside from the 25. But if I was Bryson, I would have. If he wasn't, I'd be saving a little bit, right? I wouldn't say like hold back, but you had the slower car holding up to 25. Save your tires a little bit here, and then now that he's around, start to get away a little bit. But you think about this, right? I think we're right on the edge of making it all the way here. So we're approaching what now, 32 to go, right? And Bryson 4 laps on this stint here, so he's gonna have to make it 36 laps. I was told the most you can go is 34, but everybody else as well, they hit it only a lap, so they're gonna have to go 35, right? So I don't know how far they can really push this, but I was told in the chat by Cameron Rich, which we all know how he knows how to get it done here and hit that car in victory lane. I was told it was 33 to 34 lap stint, right? And Bryson's gonna have to go 36, I believe, if we go green the rest of the way. So he might have to save some fuel here if he wants to not have to come down pit road one more time.
Yeah, so I think they pit just 5 laps ago or so, so that would make it 25 laps, I think, since Bryson.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know.
So yeah, no problem on the pit strategy with regard to staying alive on these tires, but we see a pretty consistent 1 second gap for at least a lap now. And that grew from 9/10 of a second when Matthew White was still behind Fidel Fabian. And so Bryson Byrd right now being able to keep a pretty good deficit, but we see now Matthew White taking a bit of a bite into that gap, able to cut off a few tenths. So Bryson Byrd is definitely going to be on the hot seat, I think, right now, as we saw him get around that slow car, the 84, who had some problems on the pit lane. So lap traffic definitely going to be a factor, but you saw right there just that exchange, 3 to 4 tenths off the timing pylon, and that's going to help out Matthew White for sure, as you see him also get the draft.
Yeah, passing the 94 Jackson Jones, pretty much like lose a lot of time that pit road, try to figure that out. Also, I'm watching on the chat, there was an altercation between the 51 and the 24 in the middle of the race, and the 24 is pretty much out of the race, so there's another chase implications right there.
Yeah, we see that. Joel Farlow back there in 21st, 13 laps down, out early. Now, he came in here, what, third in points. So, I mean, a 21st place finish, that's, I mean, borderline already you're done, right? That might be the 24th season right there, early after contact with him in the 51 of Fidel Fabian. And you hate to see it, right? For Joel, he won there at Bristol, got himself into the playoffs and did the chase, I mean, and already, contact with a non-playoff driver. And it's nothing against Fidel. I obviously we missed the contact, and I bet that it wasn't done deliberate, but it probably it sucks, right? That unfortunately Joel got the worst end of that, and probably season ender for that 24 team.
Yeah, and very unfortunate because we were really looking forward to seeing how many different contenders we could have here throughout the first several races of the chase, but to be out that early, definitely not a good thing. But you see right now, 3/10 separated between the first and second place running positions. Oh, and what a good run through the short chute there, Matthew White. Oh, and what a great job to maneuver to the inside. We saw the 94 give room for Matthew White, but now, I mean, geez, that is a huge run right there. He was able to draft up behind Bryson Byrd with that lap car. And so now he's just in a great spot to be able to continue to carry that momentum. Bryson Byrd is a sitting duck right now.
Matthew White is pretty much showing Riley Herb's style, especially with that Monster Machine Mustang. It remind me of that Riley Herb's win and how that 98 was so fast against the 0-0 of Cole Custer. And he was able to get behind, and he was able to get that car very much well in the bottom lane, painting that bottom line, and be much faster than the 0-0. So, yeah, of course, these are not teammates, so there's a difference, but it's still the same style of having that monster car being fast here in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and that was an interesting race to see, right? Because back there, what was that, in 2024, right? They brought a new package to those Xfinity machines back when it was the Xfinity series, and it was more like a Speedway package, right? It wasn't, a mile and a half where you're braking a lot. I mean, you're maybe lifting a little bit, but I'd love to see, iRacing maybe try to implement that kind of package into this Speedway. Obviously, I think the racing was really entertaining. It was definitely a lot different than what a lot of people expect from Indy, right? You expect, it to be a kind of a driver's track where you have to hit your marks, but that was definitely an interesting race to see. Obviously, the two, at the time, Stewart Haas teammates battling it out for the win there. And it was really interesting to see. I'd really love to see if, even if it's not iRacing, and maybe, there's a setup maker that could make some type of setup that replicated that. Because that was honestly a really, really awesome race to watch as a fan. And I'd really be interested to see how that would play out here on the sim.
Yeah, and we've been following along with 16 to go here of these two leaders. Almost deja vu with the blocks that Bryson Bird's been throwing and just how offline he's been getting sometimes into the entrance of turn 3. We see the more and more he snakes and the more off guard he's getting caught by Matthew White's reactions to him snaking back and forth. Sometimes he gets a really shallow entry and really isn't able to get out of the gas as soon as he'd like to. And we see him come off of that curb on the bottom, mid-corner, and that really allows Matthew White to really just inch up closer and closer to his rear bumpers. We see there. We also see the lap car maybe giving problems for Matthew White, packing some air on his rear bumpers. So, definitely a lot to consider. We got the mirror driving out of the leader here. We got Matthew White trying to maneuver his way around him. But, Diego, what are the strategies if you're behind the wheel of Matthew White's machine? What kinds of things are you trying to look out for here to try and make the pass done on Bryson Byrd?
Maybe try to go ahead and get Bird a little bit more uncomfortable. Maybe try to go ahead and use that lap car as a pick, as a way to give yourself some draft. Like for example, the lap car is right there, over there in the top. So maybe like we saw in other passes, maybe use the lap car as a pick to give yourself some drafting help, especially that Bryson is pretty much by himself. He doesn't have any teammate. Yes, we have Wyatt Roberts getting closer in the background, but White is gonna be a little bit having a great.
Oh man!
Oh, here comes the blocks from the number 53. He's destroying blocks after block after block.
Oh,
How many
contact!
times into the wall?
Oh my
Contact.
goodness!
Wow.
Bryson wants this lead, and he wants it bad, and I don't think Matthew's going to take that for much longer. I mean, if I was behind the wheel, that's kind of like that first block was strike one, and the other two were strike 2 and 3, right? So I don't think Matthew's going to take that too kindly here. I'm going to be interested to see how he races this 53 for the rest of the time. And honestly, if you're the 53 now, you really have to just paint the white line through the whole corner because you know that 25 is not going to be playing around. I mean, we're underneath 15 to go. I mean, it's time to go, right? And with them fighting like that, caution!
Caution!
Oh my goodness!
Ron bomb in the back
That
completely tore up.
changes
Another one!
everything.
That changes
And
everything.
another.
Yeah, everything. But
Another chase contender as well.
Wow. Wow. Unbelievable.
we'll see what happens to the number 7 here of Ron bomb here in the back. Kind of running by himself. So I see the O2 of Acosta here on my left monitor, but I think this might have been, you know, self-inflicted here from the 7. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we see fine here, fine here.
Up into the wall.
Just like
into the
contact,
wall.
getting into the outside wall. Oh man, some
Oh.
hard contact coming out of the corner there.
Yeah, and you just saw
Wow.
it. And this happens a lot with the sim sometimes. When you get up into the wall, it kind of grabs you. You see this in real life as well sometimes, right? And once you yank it off, the car just kind of snaps off the wall, right? And it just, I mean, it's just you're wrecking out of control, right? So nothing that really obviously, I think, I'm not going to say it wasn't the 7's fault, but obviously him getting up into the wall was what caused that. But obviously once he yanked it off and it kind of got out from underneath him and there was nothing he could really do. But yeah, once again, another chase contender right there. Obviously not the race that Ryan wanted before that, but definitely not the way he wanted to end his campaign here at Indy.
Yeah, and this just makes me wonder, you know, with the guys that are going to be dragged back up towards the front of this field here, you know, did Bryson Byrd and Matthew White kind of burn their stuff up, going back and forth there, snaking down the backstretch, you know, throwing haymakers like we mentioned on the front straightaway? Like, that was really taxing on the tires, I'm thinking. And so for someone like Wyatt Roberts or, you know, Jake Scarborough, is this an opportunity to pounce with what'll be coming up on almost 10 to go here? You know, this is just really, really, you know, curious as we see them coming down pit road here, going to get some fresh tires. This is just going to come down to short run speed, I think, guys.
This is pretty much the last pit stop. Of course, you're gonna be okay with fuel. But yeah, like what you need over here, possibly we're gonna see, especially with 10 to go, possibly not. But I wouldn't be surprised if somebody takes 2.
I wouldn't be surprised to see someone take 2 if you need the track position. I don't think that's going to win you the race, though. But is Enrique, they're letting him do that. Okay, well, he's out of the box. That's insane. But, yeah, I think it's going to be between that short run speed. And I think this is really in Bryson's wheelhouse here. If he can keep the race lead here, obviously you're going to see that 25 with the first pit. No, he's going to.
Wyatt Roberts.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, a problem for
White.
Matthew White. A catastrophic problem on the pit stop. He is going to be buried in the pack. Unbelievable stuff.
I don't see a black flag for the 25. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, maybe I'd hate to say like a bathroom break or something, but this is the worst place to have it. But I mean, here he comes. I have no idea. I don't see damage on the 25 at all. I don't really, yeah, I don't know, right? But that's huge, right? I mean, that changes everything, right? So he was the car to beat, undoubtedly. Now he's going to be back in here 12th, and we'll be going green with what, 11, 10 to go. I mean, he's going to have to be Superman to get back up towards the front with the loss of track position.
I'm not so sure that we're done seeing cautions in this event. You know, we might see some more scrapping towards the front of the field, especially considering that now, you know, Wyatt Roberts is going to be leading one of these lanes here, and also Fidel Fabian, Jake Scarborough, going to be looking for some wins maybe if they're able to find themselves in a good position. But we know Bryson Byrd has been so strong on that short run speed, so you know there's just so many contenders right now to take consideration of.
You always need to know that sometimes you have Bryson Byrd is gonna be the second best car, especially in the short runs. But we can see that I can see right here Fidel Fabiano or Jake Scarborough, especially Fidel Fabiano with nothing to lose. He would try to go ahead like pull that 3 wide. We're gonna start seeing some 3 wide battle right here, and that is gonna be a little bit chaotic.
Be a lot of drivers taking a wave around here, trying to get something out of this race. You know, some drivers who are, you know, playoff eligible. Gilberto, remember we saw him with the, I presume, you know, hardware issue. Gonna get the wave. Gonna try to salvage something out of it. Now this race is currently back there in P17. Not the night that he needs to try to drive towards the field. Remember, he said he wasn't the most confident in his ability to go up and race for the championship, but we know he's got the pace. And it just sucks, right? I mean, the only kind of thing we have to kind of parts failure in the sim is, you know, a hardware malfunction on your PC, or, you know, maybe a connection issue, right?
Yeah,
that's the closest thing we have to hardware failure on here, and unfortunately he got bit by that tonight in that number 23 machine. But we'll get the wave around. We'll be going back to green with 10 to go. I mean, he needs a caution, and he could be right back in this to give him an opportunity to go down pit road, take some fresh tires, and try to reset here. But he does need a caution here in these last 10 laps.
Yeah, and, you know, I think that this restart's really just going to come down to the push, right? I'll start with you, Diego, and then Christian, you can follow up. But what lane do you think you want to be in here for the restart?
I would say possibly bottom, at least on the start of the race, but top is gonna be a good lane to hold, but it's not gonna be the top. You need to be like in that top bottom. Try to pitch the car on the bottom and get it tight.
You'll see the pace car come in. It's gonna be the 53, the 42, the 2 teammates, forward teammates there up front as we get ready to go back in the restart zone, and we'll get the 10 lap to go mark here. Bryson Byrd back to the point.
Good jump by Bryson right there. Fidel got a little bit loose.
And here comes the 22.
Oh, contact.
Here comes the 22, bottom of 3. He took advantage of that 51, not having the jump he needed. He's going to jump up at least to the P4 spot. Here comes Kukulon here late in the race.
What a great move by Kukulon right there. Tried pretty much put his car on the bottom of Fidel and be able to go ahead, like, kept the car right there. Of course, Fidel got a much better defense, kept the 3rd position, but what a move by Kukulon.
And that kind of shakes up the top, you know, kind of top 4, right? Bryson Byrd keeps the race lead after he, you know, takes, you know, the race lead away from the 25. Now here comes his teammate, Wyatt Roberts. He's trying to tandem away here. Fidel and Enrique, kind of a new fast 4 here late in the race.
Yeah, Wyatt Roberts got a pretty good toe there down the front straightaway with a good exit off of turn 4. You know, in my opinion, this is Wyatt Roberts' best opportunity that he's been in to pick up a win here. So you see Bryson Byrd a little bit loose at back end, shaking around a little bit on corner exit of turn 2. You know, I mean, for Wyatt Roberts, you know, I just know that heartbeat is through the roof right now. It's got to be, because this is just a really good position to be in. And all you see now, yeah, Bryson Byrd up off the bottom of the racetrack pretty early in that corner. You know, I think Wyatt Roberts just needs to be really smart here with 9 to go.
A really good run into the short chute. Got him a little bit more time. They're back underneath 0.2 of a second. You know, Roberts, he's got a little bit of a gap back to the 51 of Fidel. But once again, we're in that area now where the second they get side by side, that's going to open up a whole new set of can of worms here. It's going to allow the 51 to grab it. It's going to allow the 22, maybe even the 77 to make stuff happen. So when do you make this move if you're the 42? When do you try to get side by side to try to take the lead away from the 53 of Bryson Byrd?
Well, you know, I think with regard to timing it, you know, like I got to go now, right? Like I don't want to give an opportunity to, you know, maybe get side by side for second place, right? And then I'm just completely out of contention here. So if there is an opportunity that presents itself, I think that Wyatt Roberts has to take it sooner rather than later.
I think that Wyatt Roberts is what is doing wrong right here is pretty much like getting a little bit later than Bryson Byrd. Bryson Byrd is just getting into the breaking points like how it should be. However, Roberts is either like mimicking or doing a little bit later than Bryson Byrd because he's not getting the run that he wants on the corner exit. So what you want to do in Indianapolis, and that's what I used to do in another league. I was able to pass other people because I was braking a little bit earlier, and I was able to get a good run out of the corner. So that's what you want to do, especially if you know that Bryson Byrd is not great on long run, and actually Ryan Roberts is much better than Bryson Byrd. But this is just a 7 laps shootout. So what you need to do is pretty much doing something different than the number 53.
He's still there. I mean, he's still in. He's going to be in the wake there. I mean, he's not. This 53 is not going to be able to shake him off. It's just going to be about. Oh man, he was blocking in the back. Enrique. I mean, every point's going to matter here for these guys. Enrique technically does have the edge here with that win at Nashville over the 77, but Jake not going to have any of it. You're going to use him up a little bit, up into the outside wall.
Into the wall.
Oh man.
That's
not a good corner for both of those cars.
Yeah, I don't think that's what Jake meant to do here, and that also gave him a lot more damage. The 22 is going to get to the bottom once again. They're just going to continue to try to race each other for this P5 position. P4 position. Yeah, I don't think Jake meant to do that. I'd be interested to see if he just gives it back. Yeah, it looks like he's just going to back out, give it back. Definitely not what he wanted to do. You just saw him walking it up the track there. You're going to try to maybe pass him the clean way this time.
And that pretty much killed both. It's more like Jake's than Kukalon, because it's pretty much like you guys see right there on the right front. It's pretty much like bent in. So pretty much that car should be damaged. Should be like with the wheel damage as well as aero damage. So it's going to be pretty much a very long 5 laps to go for Jake.
And we know that Enrique Kukalon has had a pretty much clean day through and throughout for the entirety of the race up until now, and so pretty unfortunate that he went this long without receiving any damage. We see a little bit of a scuffle between 12 car Matthew Chastain and the 77 of Dick Scarborough for the 5th place spot. But yeah, I mean, definitely a good exchange for Kukalon to come out on top. But now we see some contact going into the short chute here. But man, I mean, these guys are going at it with 5 to go here.
And I mean, you know, Jake used up the 22. Matt Chastain said, well, if you're going to use up someone, I'm going to use you up here. Here comes the 25 now. Is now some more blocking to the 25. Matthew cannot catch a break here. But once again, I think he had the best car tonight. Not going to be able to. He's not going to have near enough time to get back up towards the front. He's all the way back here. What now? 3.5 seconds back to the race leaders. He's going to need another caution or a miracle to get him back up here in the freight. But going to try to run down this 12 machine of Chastain. Chastain with a good recovery up inside the top 5.
Yeah, we can see over there Matthew White pretty much being fastest car. Of course, it was going to be a very long race, especially coming from 12th position in Indianapolis. It's going to be a very difficult task. So right here, he's going to be able to go ahead like pass the number 12. Jake Scarborough, pretty much he needs to go ahead and like, try to capitalize for a top 10, especially with that damaged car. So right now he's going to have the attack from Carlos Acosta. He's still blocking the number 02. So yeah, Jake Scarborough, of course, with that little damage coming from that contact with the number 22.
Guys, I think Wyatt Roberts is going for the lead right now.
Wyatt Roberts is going for the lead.
Go.
Oh yeah, a little bit of side-by-side there. So on the scoring pylon, that deficit got within just a few thousandths of a second, so he was able to pull side-by-side into turn 1. Definitely conceded that position going into it. Thought better of going side-by-side through the short chute. But, I mean, Wyatt Roberts feeling very comfortable, and I like that from him. I like that he's testing out the waters, right? Trying to see what he can do to maybe set up a pass or just feel out where his car can be for the last few laps of this event. But, you know, I mean, we talked about it, Diego, earlier in the race, right? You know, you can only go side-by-side for so long here. Before it starts to drag both of your cars back. You know, maybe Fidel Fabian is looking at this battle and thinking, hey, I can maybe steal a win here if these two get into it. But, you know, for Wyatt Roberts, you know, one of those guys that has a goose egg in the win column for the entirety of the season so far. You saw him tap the outside wall just a little bit there. Going to lose some time, but definitely a really ambitious driver behind the wheel here with 2 to go.
He really needs to go ahead and like just do a very good job on the bottom right there. Yeah, you see Bryson is still getting loose right there. I can see that Wyatt Roberts is a much better car, but it's going to be just 2 laps to go. We know that this is a long racetrack, but next one is going to be the white flag. So what Wyatt Roberts needs to do is pretty much right here, get it behind Bryson Byrd, get it right away. A good opportunity to pass the 53.
I don't care what he does in 1 and 3. He needs to have a good 2 and 4, and he did a decent job there. Loses a little bit of time there, but it's going to be within 2/10 here as we get the white flag here. So it's going to be between Bryson Byrd, Wyatt Roberts as we hit the white flag here for the Brickhouse Designs 200.
Wyatt Roberts staying right on his tail end there through turn 1. Tracks up just a little bit towards the outside wall. Bryson Byrd, throughout the entirety of the race, has been mirror driving. He'll have to do it one more time here on the last lap.
He got a little bit tight right there in turn 1. He's going to get a little bit loose coming out of 2, but he's going to have the run. He's going to be going forward, getting in 2 times for the second. He's going to be 19 tenths of a second. So he's going to be right there for 3 and 4.
Going to take a heave out of the number 42 to make the pass work here. Through 3 and 4 for the final time. Does Wyatt Roberts have anything for this 53? Or can Bryson Byrd sneak his way through the field? Not a run, I don't think, enough. And Bryson Byrd, maybe.
Oh, man!
Bryson Byrd gets it.
Byrd. Unbelievable. With a late charge from Wyatt Roberts, Bryson Byrd able to hold him off at the line. Wow.
12 100ths of a second. The difference between the 53 and the 42. And I don't know where the 42 got that run there at the end. Honestly, but what an effort by the 42 Roberts, you know. Definitely a good points day for Wyatt, but once again, Bryson Byrd came in here the points leader. He wins the start of the chase. He's going to continue to extend that points gap, but what a run. What an effort by Roberts there those last couple laps. They try to take away this win from the 53.
That was unbelievable stuff from the top 2 there. I mean, they kept it clean, and they were really just, you know, showing off their driver talent throughout the entirety of the last several laps there. Bryson Byrd being able to defend and keep that lead, and Wyatt Roberts being able to pull up, even go side by side for a little bit there, and then almost pull it off at the line. I mean, you got to feel for Wyatt Roberts coming so close so many times throughout the regular season, but definitely a good start to the chase for Wyatt Roberts, but more so for Bryson Byrd, picking up where he left off in the regular season.
He obviously won the finale here in the regular season. Going to come out here and win the first race of the chase here, in a spectacular fashion. I mean, he did everything he needed to, right? And honestly, I think the 25 having an issue in pit road, whether that was intentional, I don't know. It could have been just it could have been just simple enough of, you know, I'm not racing for a championship. I'm just gonna let these guys race it out, right? And if that was the case, I'll you know, he deserves a bouquet, right, for that. You know, giving up an opportunity to race for the win, to let these guys race it out here who are racing for a championship. But still, Bryson Byrd, masterful job holding on to the win here. 12 100ths of a second over the P2 driver of Wyatt Roberts.
Pretty good finish. Of course, great pull from Wyatt Roberts in the last straightaway. If that straightaway was a little bit longer, I'm pretty sure Wyatt Roberts would have got it. But, well, great last effort by the 42.
And nonetheless, a fantastic race, and what a finish. But we're going to go ahead and let our partners go ahead and talk to you guys for a little bit. So we'll be right back to You Post-Race Show after a quick commercial break. As we welcome you back here for the First Race Show here for race 1 of the chase here for the AWC Pro Series here for season number 20, and what a finish here. Before we talk to your drivers, I think we got to go back and take a look and see how this all transponded here back up here. So this is the take the white flag, I believe. See Bryson Byrd up in front, trying to hold on.
Right there, I see in the turn 2. I saw the 42 getting a little bit tight, so I thought that it was gonna be race over. Although he got a much better turn 2. He's gonna be on the draft. And I think over here, that's where Roberts did something different against Byrd. He let go early. In that way, he gets the runoff out of the corner. Here comes the front straightaway.
Oh, this might be the one
This
to
is
go lap,
this is the one to
right
go,
here.
yeah. So.
Okay.
This is the final lap.
Well, we'll take a
You
look
see
here.
right there.
Yeah, I mean the 42. Well, I honestly thought he had no shot here. Not a good 1 and 2 at all, right? Was able to obviously the draft I think really helped this 42 keep it in check here, but he got back there within striking distance here, and he really drove it into 3 and 4. I was like, man, like he tried, but I don't think he's got anything for him. But we'll see down here in the 3 and 4, a little bit of a higher exit here, higher entry to kind of arc it down here, and then down here into the short shoot here for the final time. See once again a little bit of a different entry to get a little bit of a better exit off, and a drag race to the line here. I mean, you just got to run out of nowhere here. No, I don't even know where we're at, but granted.
Oh, this is like 5 to go. Yeah, that was when they originally got side by
side.
side.
Well, we will see if we can pull up the. Unfortunate. I had it up. See if we can figure out where this happened. Maybe right here. I had it all queued up here. And here it is. Back to the line. A little bit of contact.
Oh my goodness.
That was the margin of error between the 53 and the 42 for tonight's race. And I think we'll just leave it here as we get ready to drag in your race winner for tonight's race. Let's go ahead and talk to the number 53, Bryson Byrd, up here in the HPTV booth. Hey, Bryson, it's Christian up here in HPTV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got y'all.
Well, what a race by you. What a finish between you and your teammate there in Wyatt Roberts. Obviously, you showed to have a lot of pace there, but looked like you just did not have, at least compared to the 25 of White there, just didn't have the long run pace that 25 had, and really had to fight. They keep that 53 up front, but you got that caution with 13 to go, and it was a 10-lap shootout, and allowed you to get back up towards the front, and barely able to hold out that 42 of Roberts. The win tonight here from the Brickyard. Walk us through your race tonight. Walk us through those last 10 laps.
Man, it was pretty fun. We were not the fastest car at all. The 25 was just lights out. I don't know what he was doing different. It's like I'd keep pace with him, and then I don't know. I felt like I was falling off a cliff, but then I'd look behind me, and the guys were doing the same thing behind me. So 25 was pretty fast. I kind of did him dirty on the front stretch with, I don't know, it might have been like lap 66 maybe. I kind of put him in the fence, so I apologize for that. But yeah, that was fun. Final corner got tight, and Wyatt had a good run. I made sure to door him though, keep him behind me.
Obviously, we look at the finish here. 12/100ths of a second between you and Wyatt there in that 42 machine. Walk us through, right? obviously won the regular season finale. You come here and win Indy. We didn't get to talk to you in the pre-race as you were occupied, preparing for tonight's race and doing a good job at obviously parking this 53 in victory lane. But walk us through, these next couple of weeks. Obviously, came in here as the points leader, gonna come home and extending this points gap. What's the mindset coming into Milwaukee and the races further on?
Well, I feel good about all the races. My mindset is just try to get as big of a points gap as I can going into Daytona, because Daytona, that's where a lot can change. So just got to make sure we get a lot of points on everyone before we get to that point.
Nonetheless, if you keep up what you're doing now, getting all these wins under your belt, it's definitely going to be a tough challenge to, get back to you and this whole 53 team. So once again, Bryson, congratulations on another win here, specifically here from the Brickyard, and a photo finish between you and that 42 machine. So, but before we let you go, Bryson, anybody you want to thank, shout out, or appreciate for tonight's win here from Indianapolis?
Yeah, shout out to my teammates for always helping me out. Shout out to Alex, who made this awesome scheme tonight. This car's pretty lit. Shout out to Steven Maggio for teaching me how to drive this track, and shout out to you guys in the booth for always putting on a good show.
We definitely appreciate the kind words up here in the booth, and appreciate your time up here talking to us after your win tonight. But once again, Bryson, congratulations. Go celebrate, and we look forward to talking to you some more up here inside the podium spots.
All right, see ya.
Bryson Byrd comes home victorious here from Indy. Let's talk, and we'll have Matthew come up here and talk to the bridesmaid here and Wyatt Roberts.
Wyatt Roberts, Matthew, Diego, and Christian up in the HUTV booth. You got us?
Yes, I do.
All right, man. Well, P2 today for you with a pretty exciting finish here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Talk us through just the last restart. I mean, you got off pit road good, starting on the front row. Just walk us through the emotions of the entire last several laps of this race too.
Yeah, last restart, really good. Was able to get clear of third, which is super good. It's hard to start in second. You don't want to jump it, but you don't want to fall too far behind. Um, but yeah, I was kind of riding with Bryson. I think he was better on a short run car, and I had a long run, but I had a long run car. But we really only had like 12 laps or something. It might have been less than that. So I was trying to just stay close and try and get a run. I chilled behind for like 5 or 6 laps, but on one of the times going into turn one, I sent it, and I was even, but him on the outside, he had the run. And then had a lucky chance there on the final lap, the final turn. He got tight, and I was just like, I had a insane run. I set it up for a run, used the draft, and but it's so close, but it wasn't there.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty hard for us to tell at first, but yeah, definitely a really good job setting up that run at the end there, and also just staying in touch with the leaders throughout the majority of this race. Obviously, Matthew White, the class of the field for the majority of the event, but yeah, talk us through, prior to that restart, did you feel like you had a fighting chance with Bryson or Matthew White throughout the majority of the race?
Yeah, I think like at the end of the first run, I think I was gaining on Bryson. I was like about ready to pass him, and I was staying even with Matthew White. We had the caution though, but on the second run, um, I was hanging in there. But after the green flag stops, I was sitting third on one lap better tires than Bryson, equal to Matthew. But they were fighting so hard. I was closing so fast, but then that's when we got the final caution of the race. But yeah, it ran a really good race today. Like, started third and fell back a little bit on the initial start because I was tire saving, but made it right back. But really, I was top three car all day. So I mean, it was still a great race.
Yeah, definitely a great race to watch you battle it out there. Talk about a little bit about the momentum going into these next few chase races here. How much does this finish, kind of help keep the spirits high and just stay motivated throughout this chase event, right? We had a lot of cars not finish the race that were in the chase. We had some crashes, and obviously, considering where you were at towards the later runnings of this event, do you feel like this just helps elevate you further in this chase?
Yeah, should definitely be solidly second in points. I mean, had a great points day, second place, and I got the 0 iRacing incident point bonus. So it's definitely a good points day. But the only problem is the absolute car that beat Bryson Byrd with extra bonus points from race wins and regular season championship. He just gets a little bit more away, but did the best we could to minimize that. So, but yeah, just have to run like this again in the next couple weeks, and if we could do this every week, I mean, for the next 4 races, we'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, well, before we let you go here, I wanted to ask you if you had anyone you'd like to shout out for this finish here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
As always, shout out to my dad who watches all my broadcast races. I'm sure this one was thrilling at the end. But also my Circumference Ultimate Motorsports teammates, Bryson Byrd. Man, we were going at it all day today. Enrique comes back to finish 4th, and he needed that. Then we got Brett Bennett, who is actually running the 38 Chevy today on Matt Steiner's account. And shout out to Mikey. He wasn't able to make it here today. Lastly, I guess Dawson Allen, um, Matthew Chastain, and Shane O'Neill.
All right, well, we appreciate all the shout outs and looking forward to talking with you some more as we continue throughout the chase here up in the HUTV booth. So we appreciate your time and hope you have a good rest of your night, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Wyatt Roberts, P2 here from Indianapolis, and Diego has Fidel back here in pit road here as we can go talk to him, our P3 finisher tonight.
Well, Fidel Fabian, this is we are here in pit road, so P3 out of this race. So talk to us through the race. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good. We had a solid top 5 car all day, qualified thing in second. I was just really tired of this style of racing. As much as I like this racetrack, I just can't stand it. You're just stuck single file all the time, all the way around. And I don't know, just could not save my tires for all I could all day. But we had a solid finish today. I'm really glad we could do that, especially that we're not even in the chase. Good solid day for all the Redux guys today, and I think we can do better next week.
Talk to us a bit during the race. You tried to do like a little strategy on the green flag pit stops. Were you able to go ahead and like try to get ahead of the 8 at the 53 or the 25, or were pretty much the glass of the field?
Yeah, I basically just thought this track, since it was very track position heavy, I thought, all right, let's try to undercut it and see what happens. Had the lead for like a split second, and then it started to really come into me that it was a really tire heavy track, and we started falling like a rock. And kind of glad that caution came out right when we needed it, because that's really saved our race right there.
And before we let you go, we're gonna be having like the last few races on the chase. Of course, you're not in the chase, but of course, having these races, it's always fun to have. Of course, we will see you right there, fighting at least to get these guys on the chase, running for this money.
Absolutely, I'll race anybody, no matter if they're in the chase or not. That's just how I race. No matter what style of racing, what car, what league, I always try to go out there and try to win.
And any shout out before you let you go?
I gotta thank my parents for one. They're the reason why I'm here to this day. Gotta shout out my brother, my sister, my niece, my nephew, my brother-in-law. They're doing great today. And gotta shout out my sponsor, Casita Caliente, for this amazing day.
All right, Fidel, P3, thank for having us, and well, we see you later.
All right, thank you.
And Fidel Fabian comes on P3. A good run for the 51. Obviously, an up and down season for him. Obviously, haven't raced all the races in season 20, but still, nonetheless, a good race for him. Taking it home in third place, but definitely an interesting race, Matthew, to say the least. Obviously, a pleasant sight to see. A pretty green, majority race tonight. I think we only had two, maybe three cautions the whole race.
Yeah, and those cautions definitely changed a lot up, right? We saw a variety of different strategies play out there. We saw Bryson Byrd do the undercut successfully, get out in front of the field, and really just command the race from then on out. But then all that kind of got canned as soon as the caution came out with the 7 car. And so, from then on, it was pretty much just a scramble for pit road position, and we saw Matthew White just unable to get off pit road in a timely manner after.
I think we might have lost Discord audio here, everybody. So I will kind of pick it up here. Yeah, it was definitely the way that everything kind of turned out tonight. It was interesting to say, Matthew White kind of took the point early, right? It was between the 53 of Bryson Byrd and the 25 of Matthew, and it definitely made things interesting here, but we'll see if we can reconnect here. I think we have everybody back up in here.
Yep, there we
There
go.
we go. Yeah.
But yeah, just rounding out those last few thoughts. Really exciting finish there with Wyatt Roberts. So, once again, Bryson Byrd just undeniable with his ability to get it done here in the races that he might not have the fastest car. So very, very exciting finish, and looking forward to seeing what these guys can do furthermore in the chase going forward from here.
Yeah, and pretty much Bryson Byrd, after the situation on pit road on the last yellow, that was pretty much a good savior for Bryson Byrd, because if that didn't happen, the yellow wouldn't have come out. Wyatt Roberts, not only Matthew White would have won the race, but Wyatt Roberts as well as Jake Scarborough were right there. So this pretty much saved Bryson and gave him much more of a cushion on this chase. Of course, you're gonna have Wyatt Roberts having the P2, be able to grab the P2 on the standings, but also we had a lot of drivers having situations that are out of their control. Like, for example, we had Gomera pretty much in the start of the race having the issues with the hardware, as well as Ronabom pretty much like getting into the wall, or Farlow in the middle, getting a situation with the 51. So pretty much having those guys troubles in early in the first race, and then you have in the other side Kukalon, Roberts, Bryson Byrd as well having good races that can capitalize for a good chase, especially for Bryson and Roberts, which are pretty much the guy to beat right here is Bryson, but Roberts is gonna try to go ahead, and as well as Enrique, his teammates pretty much are gonna be trying to take the championship away from Bryson.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, because you look at someone like Joel Farlow, who probably was going to be competitive in this fight for the championship, but unless everybody has a bad race, I think Joel is going to have a hard time climbing his way through the standings, especially with Bryson Byrd winning the first race. That just kind of almost is another blow to that number 24 machine. But it's gonna be interesting to see how he comes back and tries to continue to approach these next races. Obviously the 7, the 24, even the 23 back there, not the races he wanted. You look back at at some other drivers who probably needed to run a little bit better if they want a chance at doing this. But speaking of drivers who need to run a little bit better, let's go ahead and take a look at our unofficial race results here from Indianapolis, the first race of the chase here, the Brickhouse Designs 200. But we talked through top 3 finishers: Bryson Byrd, Wyatt Roberts, Fidel Fabian. The Enrique Cucalone recovers to another solid finish back there in 4th. fortunately, everybody's chasing the 53 who won tonight. So good finish for him. But Matthew White recovers to a P5. Really good finish for that 25 machine. Lights out the whole race. Unfortunately, not the finish he deserves. He's not going to get the finish he deserved after that disastrous pit stop. Matthew Chastain, P6. Carlos Acosta, P7. Javier Soto back there in the 95. Good run for him in the 96. Brett Bennett comes out P9. And Jake Scarborough limps it back to a P10.
Taking a look at our 11th through 20th finishing positions, Adam Town, the 34 car, just missing out in the top 10. Sam Boutwell in the 47 definitely rounded out that last stint of the race pretty well. Tiller Strong in 11th. Jackson Jones, after getting into the pit box pretty poorly and getting off pit road pretty late, finishing in the top 15. Good finishing for him. Shane O'Neill in the 91 car finishing 15th. Gilberto Javier Gomera in the 23 car finishing 16th. Christopher Logan, didn't speak about him too much, getting done with the top 20 today. Dawson Allen in the 97 car getting done in 18th. Brendan Reed in the 57, 19th. And Ryan Ronnebaum after that late incident in 20th position.
Then you have the last few racers over here. Of course, you're gonna have Joe Farlow in this list. You're gonna after that situation with the 51, Cole Wilson losing the connection in the start of the race. He was pretty much at the top 5, fighting the leaders, and he got connection issues. It's gonna finish in P22. P23 is gonna be Alex Duster, and Oscar Enrique, who didn't start the race, is gonna be 24.
Yeah, so a lot of key drivers out early tonight here from Indianapolis, but we go to next week, which is Milwaukee, I believe. Milwaukee, and definitely a different track in the least. It's completely different than anything you'll see here in Milwaukee, right? Very abrasive track here on the sim. Obviously, we don't really go to Milwaukee in any series anymore that I'm aware of. So it's kind of an unknown, especially in these new Cup cars with the new aero package and everything else. What to expect here going into next week?
Yeah, going to be a really interesting race at Milwaukee. Like you mentioned, Christian, haven't been there with any of the real-life series other than, I believe, the trucks a few years ago it must have been. And that was a pretty exciting race from what I remember. And so going to be interesting to see how the O'Reilly cars in the AWC Pro Series take to that in the iRacing simulator. But obviously a lot to look forward to with the chase, right? Going from a large speedway like Indy all the way down to a shorter speedway like Milwaukee. So a lot to look forward to with the change in pace for sure. And also a lot to look forward to with seeing if we get any different contenders and different implications with the chase standings. And so we already had a lot of different things going on today with chase drivers. Some getting pretty much out of contention with incidents that they ran into today, but then also a lot of them with some pretty good runnings, including Bryson Byrd and Wyatt Roberts are top 2 finishers. So a lot to look forward to for next week.
Yeah, and pretty much you're gonna have multiple racetrack, not only Milwaukee, but after that it's gonna be Vegas. It's gonna be Milwaukee's land. So of course you're gonna have multiple wild cards. Of course, Daytona being the final one, being the one that is gonna end everything. Of course, it's gonna be interesting to see. So Milwaukee for some racers, of course, I think it was Wyatt or Jake that told me that Milwaukee runs like New Hampshire. So we're gonna see a lot of drivers who are gonna go ahead and like take that advantage of driving in New Hampshire, and we know that New Hampshire is pretty much like a bigger Martinsville. So we're gonna see a lot of braking. We're gonna see a lot of pretty much flat racing. So, and then we're gonna go into Las Vegas or Milwaukee's Land, and then ending up everything into Daytona. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see, especially with pretty much the battle for the championship. It's not gonna be over until the final race, unless in the next one we can see that Bryson Byrd gets the win and every single chase driver wrecks. But I say that very impossible.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the points stack up. Obviously, Milwaukee, completely different track. I feel like a completely different skill set. You might see some, new faces emerge here coming into next week. Obviously, we saw kind of the same old when it came to people we expect to be up front. Obviously, Bryson Byrd winning, not a surprise here in the least here for the AWC Pro Series, but definitely still a very, very exciting race to call. I definitely had blast calling it up here in the HVTV booth alongside Matthew and Andreas. But yeah, I think it's time to call the night here from Speedway, Indiana, here at the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Once again, a big congratulations to Bryson Byrd on another win here in his season 20 campaign here to potentially go race for a championship here later this season. But once again, my name was Christian Delgado alongside Matthew Perchatsky and Diego Acuna back up here in the HVTV booth. And we appreciate everybody for coming out, whether you're watching over on the High Velocity TV YouTube channel. If you are, we'd appreciate if you drop a like on the broadcast. Share the broadcast with friends and family. Definitely an awesome race to go back and watch. I'm definitely going to come back and do it. Or if you're watching over at twitch.tv/ChristianBoss13, we also appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel over there, please drop a follow and hit the bell notification to be notified anytime we go live here, whether it is on High Velocity TV or over on the Twitch side. But if you guys are looking for any interest here in the network, whether it's having us broadcast for you guys, or if you guys want to join the family and be up in the booth, do graphic work for us or produce for us, whatever, right? We pay everybody for their time up here in the booth unless they specifically ask to not be, which is very kind of them. But if you guys are looking for any questions or anything when it comes to the network, make sure to join the HVTV Discord down below. We have it linked in the description down below if you guys are just looking to be a part of a good community, or if you guys are looking for some more info about the network, make sure to join the server, the Discord server. And if you have any more questions, feel free to DM me over on Discord. I will be the top guy in the Discord under the founder name. But if you guys would prefer email, you can also email us at hvtvbroadcasting@aol.com for any other concerns. We try to check that maybe like once a week or so to make sure everybody's all caught up there. But also down below, we do have the AWC Pro Series Discord. If you guys are wanting to be a part of this series and race with these really talented drivers towards the end of the season, or even going into season 21, that's just around the corner here. Make sure to join the Discord. It's a free league to join. Obviously, you see the racing is really good and really competitive. If you guys are looking for a good league to run in, make sure to join the AWC Pro Series. We do have a link down below. We also have Delta Designs. Delta Designs, they work very close with us here on the network. Graphic designer who we work really close with here on the channel. So we also have Delta Designs, his Twitter link down below. So if you guys are looking for any graphical design needs, even if it's some basic animation stuff, right? I know he does some stuff with that as well. But he also does great graphic work. He does all of our outside graphics here. If you're looking for a paint scheme as well, make sure to check out Delta Designs there. Does a lot of great work down there. But from everybody up here in the HVTV booth, we appreciate everybody for coming out. And once again, we'd appreciate if you guys drop a like and subscribe, do all the fun stuff, and share the broadcast with friends and family, as we're just trying to grow this network big as it can be and just have some fun up here, calling some races up here in the booth. But once again, my name is Christian Delgado, Matthew Perchatsky, and Diego Acuna joining me once again up here in the AWC Pro Series booth. But once again, we hope everybody has a great rest of your Friday night. Enjoy their racing there from Dover with the All-Star race and all that coming up this weekend. But once again, we hope everybody has a great rest of your Friday night, and you've been watching a HVTV production of the AWC Pro Series. Hope everybody has a good night, and we'll see you guys soon.